Peace, family. Peace, peace. This is your sister with the curly braids, Vicki Dillard, and I am so pleased that you are with me today. I hope you can hear and see me okay. Family, as you can see, I have a very special guest with us today, and really not a guest, but family. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment. But family, I have a little bit of a ritual. I want you all to, first of all, make sure that you can hear and see me okay. I have a little bit of a delay today. So I want to make sure that the tech issues that I was having on my end are resolved. So everybody, please let me know if you can hear me okay. In fact, let me check on my device. Can you all hear and see me okay? Okay, looks like for my device, I can hear. I'm trying to turn it down. But okay. My team said, yeah, they can hear. Okay, awesome. Let me tell you, okay. Thank you all so much for tuning in to our international podcast today with my brother from the UK, based out of the UK, brother Richard Sudan. Everybody, let's welcome our brother Richard. Richard, we're so pleased you're here again with us. How are you?
Vicky, I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure, a privilege. I just can't wait to talk to you, Vicky. Every time we talk, we get into so much interesting stuff. So, yeah, big respect and love for you, Vicky, and your wonderful audience tuning in as well. We appreciate everyone watching.
Yes, thank you so very much. Same here, of course. So, I am just tripped out, Brother Richard, because about all of the goings on that happens in our world. Now, I don't know, this is kind of impromptu what I'm about to say now. Should we tell them our new name of our ongoing podcast that we're going to be doing consistently when we discuss international issues? Would you like to tell them?
Yes, ma'am. No, I'll leave the unveiling to you, but you go ahead, Vicky. You go ahead and do what you do.
Yes. No, I want you to tell them that the name of our new podcast that you came up with.
Vicky,
for our Black World News. Am I putting you on the? Well, I can wait to do that if you want. We'll do that in the end. So we're gonna wait, family. Okay. Look, I'm putting them on there. I'm putting them on the spot, but I'm so excited because I want us to get used to seeing this. And I'm so happy that we were able to finally get our next episode together. We had so much going on, family, but we are back at it. Yes. Now, how many of you all saw? I posted this late yesterday, so we know at the right time, the right people will hear this broadcast. And of course, my team later will do what they normally do, chop it up, a couple of clips later on. And we always like to get the message out that way on other social media platforms. So family, y'all stay tuned for that. We're very likely going to be on some other platforms as well, and different types of, I think, extension of our, I want to say Black World News broadcast.
Yes, it is, Vicky. I had to, because we whittled it down to like two.
Yes. You got it.
News.
Yes, our Black World News. But anyway, family, so you all should be expecting more of that. And hopefully he and I will discuss the details of that. But I'm looking for us to, even take it to, I don't know. Look, we didn't even talk about this, but maybe even Substack, do some stuff there. Just a little brief, little things here and there, and just kind of go forward. Yes, but family, we're just getting started. I think it's so important that we sow our commentary, our broadcast into the atmosphere related to, related to what our opinion about what's happening in our world. Yes, family. Now, with that being said, I was asking, did you see the post that I put up on Instagram? You can follow me on Instagram at Vicki X Dillard, or I think I put it on X. Yes, X, my Facebook page and stuff like that, and my YouTube post, my YouTube community page. Why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because today's topic is about how Zionists are accused of, have been accused of, and in some instances I'm going to discuss today, charged and convicted of land theft in New York. But family, my brother Rich and I were talking about the fact that there seems to be a connection between this same ideology that's global and the same mindset that's happening where? In Palestine. So that's what we want to discuss with you today. Yes? So I hope you all are ready for this. And I want to connect some dots because I think that, Brother Richard, when we connect those dots and see how what's happening with us locally, nationally, and we can see the bigger picture internationally, I think it causes us to combine our powers and become more of a force to understand that a lot of the stuff that's taking place that seems like it might be isolated is actually engineered on a wide scale. And honestly, it's in my opinion, the playbook is really the same. But if we're not tuned into what's happening, we would think that this is just a one-off. And I think when we understand that connection, it causes us to be, a bit more powerful, and we can strategize together as a collective. What are your thoughts on that before we get into this?
Yeah, Vicky, like you so articulately outlined the problem, really. I mean, when it comes to what we're going to talk about, I always maintain that really and truly, the global power structure operates a religion of white supremacy, and is very, very important we think about that, because a lot of the time when we talk about, for example, the what Israel is doing, religion gets so easily thrown into the mix. But of course, the more you start to unpack things, you realize that really what is happening in Israel, and ergo what is happening with Israel and its influence around the world, is really just an extension of white supremacist settler colonialism. Now, the media, which by and large upholds not just the Israeli narrative, but this system in general, many, many times, Vicky, in my opinion, the people that are put front and center in the media, the intellectuals, so on and so forth, they they really are completely biased towards Israel, and so they never really there's a lot thrown in to confuse people, is what I'm trying to say. And religion is the primary thing that's used to kind of confuse people with this. And I think from the outset, it's very important to remind people that what Israel is doing is so far from the tenets of the great religion of Judaism that this is the reason why hundreds of thousands, if not more, Jews around the world are condemning what Israel is doing. And Vicky, we're going to talk about the extension of this Zionism, which is completely different from Judaism. So important we make that distinction. Judaism is nothing to do with Zionism. And we're going to talk about how Zionism is really extending its influence and sphere into areas, Vicky, which people might not really be readily aware of. I have to say, the New York story that you flagged up is something I was not aware of, and I'm pretty clued up on this issue. So it's hugely important we unpack this. And lastly, Vicky, because this stuff is all interconnected. What's happening in the continent of Africa, what's happening in Palestine is not separate from our lives here. Our tax dollars, our UK pounds, tax money, our governments have been appropriated for the very opposite of what Israel says it does. It says it's a democracy, but Israel is quite clearly a ethno-nationalist, illegitimate kleptocracy that cannot and will not even define its borders for a very specific reason.
That's deep. I have you on the screen right now on my Instagram page, real quick. Instagram, as you can see, I am live with a very, very, very not special guest, but our brother here for our ongoing international podcast about Black World News. So please join me at VickiDillard.tv. VickiDillard.tv. You can access us directly from that link, or go straight to YouTube at Vicki Dillard TV. You don't want to miss this powerful conversation. We're breaking down the fact of this Zionist ideology and persons that we see manifesting and pervading with credible allegations, and in some instances convictions of land theft, deed theft, for example, in New York, which we're going to talk about. And we're going to draw some connections also with this same mindset and playbook in Palestine and throughout the planet. Yes, I am with my brother, Richard Sudan, based out of the UK. So join me now, family, at VickiDillard.tv. I can't wait to see you there. Yes? Okay. So family, thank you all so much for allowing me to let the Instagram family know we live. And y'all know over here, I got to do what I got to do the way we do it. Yes. So family, everybody, first of all, before we get started, I want everybody to be sure to hit that thumbs up button and share on the count of 3. You all know that I have a little bit of a ritual, and baby, we're holding court. How many of y'all know that the Vicki Show is the home of the head claps and the gavel raps? That means sometimes I clap my hands and sometimes I bang my gavel. That's very important. Why do I say that? This is not just some little trick. Nobody thinks it's a trick that a judge is sitting up there with a gavel in his hand. Nobody thinks it's a trick when your lawmakers have it. It is a sign of authority. And it's also, for me, have very, very real and specific spiritual, metaphysical implications. I have it here because I want you all to know that your word matters. Our word matters. And never forget that. Yeah, so on the count of 3, if you have it, everybody hit that thumbs up button and share, share, share. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, 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 share. Thank you so very much, dear family. Okay, now, Brother Richard, I want you to go further with what's happening in Palestine and maybe talk a little bit about what's known as the Nakba. If you want to maybe draw some connections even to this notion of the Balfour Declaration. I know you and I didn't discuss those details, and I prefer it like that because that way some stuff we can just talk, extemporaneously online together live. But just based on a little bit of my research over the years, that seems to be directly interconnected to what's essential, what is really just stolen land by Zionists, by some of the Israelis. Now, I felt that this was very interesting because, number one, Black Americans, we have a very unique history in the United States, and some of the origins of our oppression. Everything from slavery to convict leasing to sharecropping to Jim Crow, folks don't know that some of these same entities and the same mindset and ideology was directly connected to our undoing. Folks don't know a lot about that history. And so that's the reason why sometimes I like to quote from a book about the secret relationship between the Black community and the folks. So, but before we do that, Brother Richard, the article that I mentioned to you before, and family, I'm pulling it up because I want you all to see. This is the cover, and I specifically went to the New York Times for this piece. And this article was from about a year ago, and I specifically went to New York Times, not because New York Times is a 100% credible publication. Hell no. Are y'all listening? The reason I'm bringing it up is because those that often listen, if you don't quote a raggedy mainstream news outlet, some of y'all you'll sit there when I'm saying stuff and you'll act like you got to double check what I say. And it's fine to do your research. But a lot of times, Brother Richard, this is me fussing, and I say this all the time. A lot of times when folks question me about information, they'll question me in a way and scrutinize me in a way that they would never do mainstream media. Yeah. And it's the mainstream media that's got us in these wars, taking folks' money, that's all in the Epstein class, that's creating hell in the United States and around the world. But they would never, ever, ever question NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and the other outlets and the print publications like New York Times in the way that they do us. So when they hear from them, at least I get that little weird attachment out the way so that way I can go in and start doing all my stuff, Brother Richard. So I want to be very clear, family. Why am I showing you this? Because, but for the reasons I just said, the New York Times. So you know that if they have to cover it, it's because it's such a big deal that it's unavoidable. Y'all understand that? So when mainstream media covers stuff, it's not because it's finally a legitimate issue. It's so legitimate. It's so big that they want to hurry up and get out in front of the story so they can put their spin and they twist on it. And so that they don't go down in history as saying that they was completely sold off and bought off by these different kinds of entities and they were doing their bidding. Y'all see this headline? Can y'all see the screen? Can you all see the screen, what I have on the headline right now? From the New York Times. Let me turn it this way. Oh, it won't go that way, because I'm doing it straight from the app. Can y'all see that? Because I want y'all to know I'm not making this up. Now look real good at the picture. Doesn't the picture say it all? I said, do y'all see the picture? Talk black to me, somebody. Somebody said, yes, we see it, Vicki. Okay, good. Now watch this. The headline, Brother Richard, Brooklyn investor who stole homes faces years behind bars. Now, I can fuss about the title right there, but I'm going to leave that alone. We're going to not be messy. I'm going to leave that Mississippi alone. Y'all listening? Y'all bear with me. I know I'm listening to intelligent Black people, so I'm sure you all can stand a minute of me reading some details so that way he and I can go into this commentary. Yes? It says here, Sanford Salney. Everybody put that name all in the chat. Sanford Salney, spelled S-A-N-F-O-R-D, first name, last name, Salney, S-O-L-N-Y. Everybody put that name, blast it on social media. Blast the name Sanford Salney. Y'all see that? S-O-L-N-Y, Sanford Salney. Y'all watch. It says, Sanford Salney built a fortune by convincing vulnerable homeowners to sign away the deeds to their homes. On Wednesday, the Brooklyn, this is from 2025, y'all, November. It says, on Wednesday, the Brooklyn real estate investor was sentenced up to 7 years in prison, closing a long and tangled case that left families in financial ruin. Somebody say New York City. Brooklyn Supreme Court Justice Danny Chung has also ordered that the deeds to the 11 homes, somebody say 11 homes, serial criminal. Just wait till I read the next part though. Ordered that the deeds to the 11 homes taken by Mr. Salney be nullified. A ruling that could allow some homeowners to reclaim their houses. Y'all listen to this. But Judge Chung declined to grant financial restitution to the victims. Y'all listening? Including any portion of the hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent that Mr. Salney collected after evicting homeowners and installing his own tenants. Isn't this crazy? I need y'all to bear with me for a few more minutes. The 68-year-old Salney, now this is a senior citizen, criminal. Yes, baby. I'm emphasizing this for a reason, baby. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. The 68-year-old Salney, a former lawyer. Brother Richard, I can't go past that. I got to do it like this because I'm scared we're missing too many of how egregious this is. I said he's a real estate investor. He screwed 11 people, at least 11 homes that was taken and nullified by the judge. We ain't done yet, right? He was a lawyer, Brother Richard. Why am I emphasizing that? Because when you're a lawyer, not only because of his credentialing, not only because of the bar in the United States that you typically have to pass to practice law, but you're expected as an officer of the court to uphold the law that you're supposed to be practicing in. So that means that he had an even greater responsibility, yes, than someone that is not an officer of the court, like a judge or some other person. Are y'all listening? But family, that's not all. Y'all listen. The 68-year-old Salney, a former lawyer, y'all put your seatbelts on, from Midwood, Brooklyn, who was disbarred. Brother Richard, I'm trying not to scream and holler. I know you from the professional stuff, but I got to do it like this because it's outrageous to me. Listen, he was what? Disbarred. Why, Vicki? Following accusations of fraud, was convicted in June of a total of 17 counts. Y'all, this man has a long-ass history. Are y'all listening? He was convicted in June, Brother Richard, of 17 counts, including criminal possession of stolen property, scheme to defraud, and grand larceny in connection with the theft of 11 properties in Brooklyn. Vicki, you hollering and screaming on this. What else did he do, Vicki? His trial in Brooklyn came on the heels of a similar trial in Queens. Wait a minute. I thought we was just talking about the one case with all these billions of houses he done stole. No. What had happened was, when did I say this article is from? His trial was from approximately. When did I say, family? I got to make sure y'all paying attention. Somebody tell me in the chat real quick before I let Brother Richard take over the next part of the conversation. Somebody tell me in the chat, when did I say this article I'm reading from Thank you, the Melanin Continuum 2025. Somebody said that was recently, right? In recent history. What am I reading now? His trial in Brooklyn came on the heels of a similar trial in Queens, where in 2018, he pleaded guilty to stealing several other homes and was later sentenced to 5 years of probation. Somebody put that other year that I said he was not convicted. He pleaded guilty to that one. When? Let me see it in the chat. 2018. He pleaded guilty to stealing several other homes and was later sentenced to 5 years of probation. At least one of the properties in Brooklyn was stolen. You ready for this, Brother Richard? I know you saw this, but I just want to remind. At least one of the properties in Brooklyn was stolen after his sentencing in Brooklyn. That's a hell of a criminal, ain't it? That's a hell of a criminal right there, baby. Watch this. Indicating that he continued to defraud people even after being convicted at the same crime in a different borough. Real quick, y'all. More than 13. I'm not going to read this quote. I want y'all to look at one of the ladies here that who was at one of the trials. Y'all see her? A Black woman. Now, there are a lot of some other research that I've done that specifically has to do with Black Americans that he was stealing from. Of course, a lot of people don't care about that. But he also, in this article, scammed a lot of Black immigrants too. Are y'all listening? Dr. Sharon, your gift is blessed 1,000-fold. Greetings to my favorite people. Vicki, you need to open a bouquet. I love your jewelry. You're gorgeous. You're so sweet. Thank you, precious. Y'all watch this. I'm going to skip because I don't have time to read through all their testimonies. But this is what I want y'all to hear. And then Brother Richard, please take it from here. Watch this. In case after case, prosecutors say Mr. Salney collected rent more than $500,000, $500,000 in total, even as the debt and property taxes went unpaid. Watch this, y'all. I'm skipping because all the rest of it is about testimonies. But here's what I want you to listen to when he was in court. Y'all ready? It says that when he was allowed to speak, because I had to go all the way to the end of the article. When he was allowed to speak, Mr. Salney, y'all put that name in the chat, S-O-L-N-Y. Mr. Salney thanked his family. I want y'all to imagine, use your imagination to see all that I'm saying here. When he was allowed to speak, he thanked his family. Brother Richard, he thanked his friends. Brother Richard, you ready? I want you to remind you, Brother Richard, who else he thanked? Guess who else he thanked, Brother Richard? The rabbis who came to support him. Watch this. This New York Times. Yeah, this New York Times article. Y'all listen. So you know I had to read this part. Who had come to support him. All the rabbis with the little hats and stuff came to support him. Y'all listening? He described, y'all watch this. I ain't even read to the most egregious part yet when he had a chance to speak before he went to prison in his sentencing. He described the anguish. Somebody say the anguish. The anguish of having to be jailed. Y'all ain't ready for this. Brother Richard, are you ready? In September, on the eve of Yom Kippur. That's what the anguish was. It was the anguish of the sentencing of being sentenced in September during Yom Kippur. But watch this. A turn of events that said he had been, quote, shocking to him. That ain't it, y'all. Watch this. And how he was taken, watch this, to Rikers Island without the requisite materials to pray and without access to kosher food. Watch this. He never addressed the victims. Brother Richard, quote, he didn't even say he was sorry, said Miss Sawendogo outside the courthouse, where she said that she remained confused about what would happen next. Will she get her house back? Brother Richard, I said a lot there because I wanted to read a lot of the details there. What are your thoughts so far?
I've never heard a story like that in my entire life. And I'd love to know in the chat if anyone else heard of this story, because I didn't, Vicki, till you brought it to my attention. So much to unpack there. First of all, like you said about the New York Times, it's not just it has credibility because it's a mainstream media outlet. You know this shit is deep because the New York Times is so blatantly in favor of kind of Israel and Zionism generally. But you know the thing that really popped in my head, Vicky, that popped in my head. One of the things popped in my head when you were talking about that is a quote by the late great Paul Mooney, which is some of us ain't got the complexion for the protection.
Come on now.
And many of us have been jailed and our ancestors for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Come
But the
on.
thing that really strikes me with this is, in fact, let's start from that other angle for a minute now, because some of us, unfortunately, are so conditioned that we tend to oftentimes view the oppressor in a way that we do not view ourselves. So I say that to say this. Imagine if this guy was black and or Muslim. Now imagine that black or brown Muslim was convicted of 17 counts, theft, fraud, grand larceny, and then what I heard was sentenced to 7 years. So he's 68 years old. I mean, I'm assuming he's probably appealing anyway, but you know, 7 years, 68 years old, he's going to serve what? 2, 3?
Maybe.
No money for the victims. So he's going to keep the money. He's going to come out of prison and that money is there. This is how vulture colonialists think and work, and you see how they move on code. And again, I'm always going to be careful to, it's not a Judaism thing. These people who commit these kinds of crimes, wherever they commit them, they have, I would say, appropriated the faith of Judaism for their own ends. Nothing that they're doing has any link to that religion, and it's used as a cover for subterfuge, for privilege in the so-called injustice system. There's black people and other people doing life in prison for fucking weed and all kinds of like shit that's never hurt anybody. And this guy gets 7 years for ruining 17 families' lives, taking their money, stealing their homes, and then he was still stealing money after being convicted and no apology. I mean, it doesn't get any more brazen than that, but we have to understand that the way these people operate is the same as the Europeans when they went and took over the land in the Americas. They went there with a Bible and they went there with guns. They used religion to carry out their crimes as cover for their crimes. So really, this shows you how deeply the ideology is in people, but how these people really believe they have a divine right from God to steal Palestine, to steal homes, as if God was some sort of like real estate guy giving out people's homes.
Donald Trump.
This is one of the maddest stories I've ever heard. And you know, people, if this was a black criminal that did this, the whole New York, the entire world, it was not just New York, the entire world, you'd have Piers Morgan and all the Western media crying their eyes out, throwing their toys out the pram. But again, because it's a white guy, in fact, forget Judaism, this is a white guy with privilege links doing this to non-white people, so he gets away with it. And also, what kind of message does the system send to the rest of the public when it sends out this kind of sentence? And when you see so many innocent people just found guilty in the media before they even set foot in a courtroom, it makes a mockery of the entire idea of justice. You know, Vicky, I really feel for those families. Imagine having your entirety of your life just torn apart. And it shows you the deep inhumanity in the way these people think as well, because, you know, showing remorse and genuine sorrow is one thing. People make mistakes. People can be forgiven sometimes. But the brazen nature of this, I've never heard of a crime quite like it. But again, and I'll let you jump in just one second, Vicky, but I want to remind your audience of something. When we think about New York Zionism, not Judaism, New York Zionists. The New York Times in recent days did another expose about the abuse, rape, and sexual abuse of Palestinians. And there were people outside protesting. There were Zionists and their supporters and outside the New York Times protesting because the New York Times exposed rape. Like, what kind of people are these? Is the question we have to ask ourselves.
That's deep, Brother Richard. That is deep. That is deep. And you are so right when you say about how, of course, New York Times is so pro Israel, so pro Zionism. So the fact that they covered this like that, and look at the time frame on that. People know when there's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives. So sometimes family, when the media knows that they have to have a record for something and how history is going to show them, and also so they're not held accountable for some things down the road, because sometimes some of these mainstream media publications, they're under certain licenses, family. There are certain policies, rules, and regulations. So when they cover certain things, some stuff they wouldn't cover absolutely at all if they were not compelled to put a sentence or two somewhere or covered in some way. So you all have to understand that in the first place. So how they cover it is the thing that they master, you see? And sometimes if they don't make it the main page, which oftentimes they don't, they'll bury it at the end of the newspaper somewhere, or the headline, just like the headline I showed you for this one. You know darn well if it was any other group, it would have said Muslim, so-and-so,
Yes.
so-and-so.
Yes.
It would have said Black, so-and-so, so-and-so. But notice it did not say Jewish. It did not say Zionist. It did not say Israeli. It didn't say nothing about the stuff that you will connect dots to a very specific group. And of course, we know that over here, we don't have to pick on any group. My point is that every time we call out, and I'm talking about myself specifically as a Black American that's been calling out all kinds of stuff for the longest, related specifically to white members that happen to be to practice Judaism, and I'm saying things a certain way on purpose, is because half the time I don't even want to talk about their religion. Sometimes they try to bring it up as a cover so that we don't talk about your crimes.
Yes.
And your immorality.
Yes.
You want that to dominate that so that you can use it as a mask and a cover so that I don't ever penetrate your wickedness. So that's why you keep throwing out anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism. So I'm saying that people get upset when I penetrate that barrier to cover your wickedness. So that's number one. Number two, who you talking to, damn it? When you're dealing with somebody like me, I'm the oldest human being on the planet. You know nothing about no spirituality. We gave it to you. And our oppression has lasted longer than any other groups. And you all have participated in it too. That's what in our oppression. Go ahead.
You see how on code the media is, Vicki, because look, like, especially post 2000, like you can hear about Muslim extremism. You might hear about Hindu extremism in India.
Exactly.
You might even hear about Christian extremism, like the Lord's Resistance Army or something in Africa. But you're not going to hear about that extremism. And we need to normalize talking about that extremism. And of course, we can also differentiate between a genuine religion and ideology. But I want to make another point, Vicki, because you said something very, very important. To your viewers, I say this. Now, what Vicki just said about how the media operates is exactly right. And I say that from experience because I've worked in mainstream media. You know me, Vicki, I've been a TV reporter. I've worked for The Guardian. I've done stuff for the BBC, Al Jazeera. So what you said, Vicki, is exactly how newsrooms operate. What you see in the mainstream media is not the news. It's some of the news, which they've allowed you to see with a certain curated line with it. And as you so rightly said, Vicki, if a Black person or a Muslim or a Black Muslim does something, a crime is committed, the primary reason for that crime always centers on their Blackness. It always centers on their religion. But when all of a sudden, like Black people do something amazing, all of a sudden they're allowed to be individuals again, and their Blackness is somehow we just park that to the side. When a Muslim does something good, all of a sudden, oh, he's just good old Mo. He's not Muhammad. You know what I mean? We park his religion to the side. But as soon as something bad is done, it's front and center. And yet you can have a guy like this convicted on so many counts of theft. I lost count. And he thanked the freaking rabbis in the court. But yet the newspapers will do anything other than bring religion into play. And this is how it works. And this is how the global system of white supremacy really and truly works. Because actually, I would argue that anybody who has a stake in that system and is invested in propping it up, you will to some extent get the benefits of that system up to a point. This is how the system retains and recycles itself. But I just feel bad for those families in New York, Vicky. And I mean, imagine having to see that guy in court. You know,
That's
not an apology, not a dollar. He's kept all the money, and if he does any prison time, and mind you, I'm saying if this
right.
guy
Right.
ends up going to prison. I mean, look, we saw when Jeffrey Epstein, right, one of the
Come on
most
now.
prolific
Woo.
sex traffickers in recorded history, when
Facts.
he was first convicted in 2008, he was on a freaking day release program. He was at
Come
prison
on.
during the day and he was going home in the evening. But of course, when it's anyone from a different hue, the presentation, the perception, and the end result is completely different. And actually, this thinking, this ideology, this privilege, this system, you know, you can pick any continent on God's earth and you see the same modus operandi really taking place, Vicky.
I apologize. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Everybody, if you're just coming in, I am Vicki Dillard. I'm with my brother based out of the UK, brother Richard Sudan, a very, very profound and well-loved guest here and journalist, global journalist, international journalist. So we're pleased that you're with us today. We have a very important subject. We want to make sure that you hype the video, that you hit the thumbs up button and share. I know I have been gone for quite some time. I had to do some traveling and he and I were working to get our schedules together. But family, I'm starting to do all new episodes. Of course, you'll be able to see some of my other content on some of the other platforms of the African Diaspora News channel. So stay tuned for that. Yes, family, I thank you all so much for tuning in. So thumbs up, hype, and share. Brother Richard, this is what I want to say this to you. Don't forget, yes, he was ordered by Justice Danny Chung. Danny Chung ordered that the deeds to 11 homes be taken by Mr. Solomon be nullified. But of course, he was convicted in June of a total of 17 counts that included criminal possession, stolen property, scheme to defraud, and grand larceny, with the theft of the 11 properties in Brooklyn. But don't forget, Brother Richard, that's in recent history. Remember I said in 2018, he pleaded guilty to stealing several other homes that he was later sentenced to 5 years on probation. So this is another thing that damns the New York Times, and not just the New York Times, all media. Because this should not cease to be on the headlines for not only the fact of his religious connections, his ideological connections, and I'm going to tell you why I say that, but the fact that this man is a damn criminal repeat offender. This was from 2018. He pleaded guilty, you understand? And then turned around in recent history and committed a bunch of crimes again related to property and stuff. You understand? So this is back to back. This is several years. He got off the first time with just probation. So even when you said a few minutes ago, we'll see if once he appeals, whether or not he's going to do the 4 or 7 years. This is grace in and of itself because he committed tremendous crimes similarly related in 2018 and got probation.
And also, Vicky, why did he thank the rabbis?
Right.
What did the rabbis do for him to elicit thanks? And also, what kind of serious rabbi would offer any kind of support, even if it's just rhetoric, even if it's just words? What kind of rabbi is going to offer any kind of support?
Yes.
It's not like the guy had already been convicted.
Right.
It's not like the support was, you know, and the guy hadn't had his day in court. The guy is already convicted.
Already,
and he's thanking the rabbis.
And he had already committed crimes that he pleaded guilty to in 2018. He does this all the time. This is a fresh new batch of crimes, Brother Richard. He waited.
I mean, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, Vicky, but it almost sounds a little bit ritualistic to think you have to thank the rabbis in court. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's me just thinking,
hell no, it ain't
in
just
a particular way, but you know, it's a spectacle in a public courtroom. He's thanking the rabbis.
The rabbis.
I mean, that's a madness. If a Muslim did this, if a Muslim stole like 20 homes and $500,000 and got acquitted and all of it, had already been convicted, and then was thanking the imams in the court, people will be losing their fucking minds. Excuse my language, but that's the reality of it. But again, like Paul Mooney said, some of us ain't got the complexion for the protection, and that's just how it is. In fact, we're so used to it, Vicky. We're so conditioned, in fact, that it's almost like every you know, every now and again you see like a heinous police killing, be it in the US, be it in the UK, be it in Europe, and so many people from our communities automatically afford a kind of a level of understanding to the perpetrator.
Yes.
You know, they must have been committed a crime. If they weren't doing something, something would happen. But immediately, if a white person is under the bus in the same way, the level of sympathy, the level of unconditional understanding is just pretty astounding. But I think we're kind of seeing the ramifications of a system which is, you know, for many, many generations has been consolidating power. This isn't something new. It didn't just happen overnight. You know, these institutions have been utterly corrupted by people whose only ideology, the only thing they worship is green, the dollar bill, or the UK pound, or the euro.
That's exactly.
And what kind of this guy must be? And what kind of individual can show no remorse?
No remorse. Didn't even bring him up.
Having been found guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, showing remorse in a courtroom and the remorse is genuine, sometimes that can directly impact, you know, the judge and the jury, the outcome.
Right.
But he didn't even feel the need to apologize. But he did thank the rabbis.
The rabbis, right. Now, exactly. And we got to look at that. Now, here's the reason why I'm saying the notion of religion is important and to differentiate who practices what. Now, let me say this. The reason I say that is because some of their sects of belief, Brother Richard, when we look into what is essentially, and I'm really reducing what this book is in simple terms, even though it's way more complex than that. But the notion, and we won't get into too many details about this. That's why I do my private webinar, so I can go into detail and not go, delve into certain subjects online because of the censoring and all the other stuff that they do with these algorithms. But I go into great details about who's behind all this, including this person that made this statement, Miss Attar Elohim, who says white supremacy is an issue, but they aren't the ones running the real elites. The one behind the enslavement are actually Black. This is a cosmic reptilian war that comes in all colors. Beloved, you need to tap into my stuff. I know a lot of people teach y'all that. I know there's this teaching about the Black Pope and the white Pope. Rock with the most ancient human being on the planet so that I can give you insight that the average person ain't giving you. My teachings that have to do with the ancient Black Sibyls, the original Vatican that had the original sacerdotal seat. It was a certain group of her own that came up against the ancient Black mama. And from which all religions, from the Vedic religions to Islam, to Judaism and Christianity, spitting from her. So baby, rock with me before y'all go quoting them folks that talking about that kind of stuff. Just your little food for thought. I wanted to say that because I know there's others that believe like that, and I have to get off into that offline. So you want to go to VickiPlanet.com, baby. That's my website. Join my school. Make sure you subscribe to my email list, so that way when I'm doing my classes and stuff, my detailed 2, 3, and 4 hour classes, literally special webinars. Sometimes I do them free for the public. I can, baby, educate people on different things. It's interesting what you said, and there's some truth to some of what you said, but there's more than what they're teaching you. You understand? I know everybody think they're smarter than the most original and the ancient person on the planet, but I'm happy to help you with that. Now back to what I was getting ready to say, Brother Richard. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it is an issue related to certain types of belief with certain sects of people that claim to practice their faith, that faith. Are y'all listening? Why do I say that? Because one of their books that's known as the Talmud, that I'm calling basically a companion to even their Torah. In that book, Brother Richard, it teaches a lot of the sick, twisted stuff that we see and play out with the Epstein style. I'm saying it like that on purpose. You understand? But it also has to do with banking and usury. And it was that mindset specifically in the United States against Black Americans that was the basis for what we call sharecropping after chattel slavery. These are the things that are actually taught in some of their quote unquote sacred books. Do you understand? So that's the reason why I'm saying that is an issue. Because if it was any other book, you understand what I'm saying? If there was any other ideology that was coming from some book that you claim came from your God, or that you, as a certain religious group of people, I'm saying it's an actual playbook, and there's an actual teachings that's actually, I'm gonna say they were indoctrinated with. You understand, and that they live out. But that's another story. That's not for today's broadcast. But I'm saying that's the reason why I think we see a lot of this, because that's a trained thing that through some of their actual extra biblical books, we'll call them. Yes. So I'm gonna get off of that subject right now, but I want to say one other thing. If you want to, before I do that, I want you to jump in real quick, please.
Yeah, no, Vicky, It's important. I encourage everyone to join your webinar actually, where that's going to be a bit more of a freer space to unpack this stuff. But the
Mhm.
core principle and thinking of people that move like this is they have a divine right
Mhm.
ordained from God to do what they want, take what they want. Everyone else is inferior. And when you hear about the super race, what's the word? The kind of Aryan super race theory, right? The Germans in the 1940s were
Right.
known for it. But I mean, Hitler was inspired actually by the British colonization and the British pushing their pseudo-scientific racial ideology from the top down, which is, black and non-white people are closer to animals and humans. And I'm just making a point here that this ideology practiced by people like this guy in the story you flagged up, Vicki, it's really no different. You're not believing that your race,
Mm.
your race is the master race and is
Mhm.
superior and
Yeah.
has the ordained right to just dictate other people's lives and other people are treated as pawns and chess pieces. This thinking for me all comes back to the root core thinking, and whiteness is the currency
Facts.
because
Facts.
you got we know how black and non-white Jews are treated. They're not allowed in the club. They're not
Yeah.
allowed in the club.
And not only that, Brother Richard, because I want you to start connecting some dots here in a minute to the Palestine theft. Because whatever, however you want to connect the dots. But I want to say this much. We know darn well there's different types of ways they practice Judaism. You know why? Because we know before even the recent wars that's taking place, even though this has been going on for decades and decades, but I'm saying it was obviously amplified in recent years. The fight between the Palestinians and when they claim Hamas attacked them when Hamas was just protecting themselves. But I'm bringing all this up to say, Brother Richard, we know darn well that they don't treat Ethiopian Jews like that. They live in Israel. They were deporting them. And these are the people that, you understand what I'm saying, that claim to be Jews. So we know darn well they don't do this for the black Jews. And this is not a pattern that we typically see that happens, for example, in New York and throughout the world. Now, before you get into the Palestine stuff, family, y'all hit that thumbs up button and share. Yes. And family, be careful some of the language that you're using in the chat, okay? Because I don't want the algorithm to unnecessarily, flag stuff. So we got to be wise about that. Even though we know we're telling the truth over here, we're still using certain phrases and we're being careful about certain things. And I'm talking about specifically you, everything is everything. Be careful about certain phrases you're using in the chat, beloved. So try to delete that because I don't want to have to do it myself. But take that out of there just because we're being extra careful. Now, I want to say this, Brother Richard. I have this book here that I've had for a long time. It's a multi-series book. Y'all can see the title. Let me put it close. You can order this book at NOI.org. Multiple volumes. This is the first volume. This is what the average person does not know. So when folks start talking about stuff, they don't understand the history. Nothing but receipts. This is not a book where somebody put a bunch of their commentary in, Brother Richard. It is basically, I see this book, these volumes, as nothing but volumes of just facts that they put all in one place. That's it, because it's very little of their own 2 cents that's in these volumes, right? On page 89, Brother Richard, you ready for this? What city? What state and city are we talking about, family? Or I should say what state, because there's different cities in. What state are we talking about right now, family, before we go further? Before we draw even more international connections? What state? Somebody tell me what state in the chat. Am I missing it? Because y'all know my thing got a delay on it on my end. What state, family? Okay. Are y'all telling me what state we talking about? I don't see it in the chat. Y'all know I don't like to move on because I need to know you with me. Thank you, Desiree. I see Desiree. A bunch of people should have said what I just said. Y'all make sure you with me. Yes, New York. Why am I bringing that up? Because on page 89 of this book that you can get at NOI.org, y'all ready? What does it say? You ready for this, Brother Richard? I know y'all didn't know I was going to go here, but watch. It talks about how they arrived in North America. Those of these, the Zionist community that we're using that phrase on purpose. In North America, primarily as refugees from Brazil and from the islands of the Caribbean, and met a population quite different from their own. It says that the American colonies represented a land of farmers and seaport merchants. And as late as the mid-18th century, 9/10 of the inhabitants made their living from the soil. As many as a third to one half of the entire Revolutionary era population came from the class of indentured servants, a class of whose members were primarily the purged criminals of European jails. Watch this. It says that the Zionists, though, it uses another word, on the other hand, y'all listening, were of the mercantile class with an entrepreneurial tradition and a worldwide network of commercial relationships. It says the majority of them were by no means poor and destitute, quote, huddled masses, because that's a phrase that's in history books. And so the evidence that these volumes present disputes that. What does it say? But instead, they were highly skilled and savvy businessmen whose wealth on arrival far surpassed that of many other immigrants. Quote, almost all the early Jewish settlers in America belonged to the wealthy class, writes who? Historian Peter Wernick, Wernik. Y'all can look him up. Quote, he says, it was natural for them to accept the institution of slavery as they found it and to derive as much benefit from it as other affluent men. Why am I bringing this up now? Guess what the next paragraph says, Brother Richard? I'm going to stop. The earliest of their settlers were established in Newport, Rhode Island, and New York, where there were numerous them as slaveholders long before and right through the American Revolution. They adapted the business climate of colonial North America and operated with the same skill they had demonstrated in the island regions to the south and accepted Black slavery without question. There's much more, but I just wanted you all to know that there is a long history of oppression, specifically of Black people, exactly in New York. Do you hear me? What are your thoughts, Brother Richard? And then we can move on. I want you to connect some dots with Palestine.
Well, one of the things I keep thinking is actually the original Jews were Black, you know, from Africa, you know, all of the holy figures, David, Jesus, Mary, the list goes on. These were Black people. What was it? Day of Solomon said, I am black and I am handsome. There's all kinds of evidence in the Bible. But what you're saying to me is, see, the book, I think the book you're holding up is from the Nation of Islam, if I'm not mistaken. I've been trying to get hold of a copy of that. And the reason why I respect the body of work in the library the Nation of Islam has built over generations is because, like you said, they don't really deal with conjecture or opinion. They just bring facts. They just bring receipts. So like people can like it or lump it. So like everything in that book, I would hedge my bets now, is factual. This is going to be factual, documented information that can probably be corroborated by other multiple sources, which is what the authors would have done. And they produced the book. And it's so important that people understand that this thinking goes back a long time. It's not new to the United States. People in the United States, particularly Black, especially Black communities, need to be really, really wary and understand that what's happening in Palestine and Lebanon is, I mean, there's a moral argument for people to condemn it and call it out. But regardless of that, it has a direct impact in the United States. This poisonous ideology has a chokehold on the institutions. The example you cited was of the case in New York. But politics is bought and paid for by AIPAC. And that's not a big conspiracy. That's literally what AIPAC is doing. The American political system is by and large bought and paid for by Israel. The UK, and you know, this is back to what we're talking about, the same central ideology. The UK political system is by and large bought and paid for by Israel. And it goes beyond that. You might have seen, your followers might have seen, Vicky, that the what's dude's name from the Young Turks? The guy who's always shouting. Cenk Uygur. He just got banned from coming to the UK.
Yes.
And I mean, there's mutual people you and I know, Vicky, who have had the same experience. And the UK government offers the same excuse. Their presence is not conducive to the public, to the public good. But you know, it really my point really is that this is not really a UK government decision to ban Cenk Uygur. Why is Cenk Uygur banned from coming to the UK? He's about to go on Piers Morgan's show and hold Israel to account. So it's Israel that controls the UK government. And if you said this 15 years ago, you were looked at as a conspiracy nut. But the tranche of information that's come out in recent months and years, the writing is on the wall. And this ideology and the people who ascribe to it and who uphold it, we should be absolutely clear about how they view us, our communities, and actually anyone that looks like us. We are viewed as less than human. We are viewed as a commodity, as an inconvenient thing to be moved off the chessboard. And that's exactly what happened in New York with this horrible man who's stolen people's homes and stolen their money. And just one quick point, Vicki, very briefly, because you mentioned the Nakba from the outset. The Nakba. For those that don't know, in 1948, about 800 Palestinians were expelled from their homelands, and it wasn't just a huge crime. You're talking about this created intergenerational pain and death and murder and land theft. There are people alive today, elders, who still have the keys and the deeds to the houses that were stolen. And you're now seeing the same genocide taking place in Lebanon. And one quick final point on that, Vicki, because most of your viewers won't know this. Now, when we hear the word terrorism in the Middle East, everyone's like Muslim, Somali, Arab, whatever. The original terrorists of the Middle East were the Haganah, the Irgun, and the Stern Gang. These were paramilitary Zionist terrorist organizations that carried out the Nakba, that tried to kill Winston Churchill, that did carry out the King David bombing hotel in 1940, around that time, 1948, I believe, 6, 7, 8, something like that. The King David hotel bombing, killing almost 100 diplomats. Now, these terror groups, well, not an aberration of Israel. These are the groups that went on to become the IDF, or the Israeli occupation forces.
Come on.
I mean, I forgot the original point, but I'm saying that the facts show us the original terrorists of the entire region were Zionist terrorists. The Irgun, the Haganah, and the Stern Gang. They went on to become the Israeli army. So this is kind of, if you like, the thinking, the broader historical power base that seems to empower the entitlement for anyone that thinks they can operate in a certain particular way. So what happens in New York with this guy is not disconnected from what's happening in Palestine. What's happening in Palestine is in no way disconnected from what's happening in Sudan. What Israel is doing is deeply connected to, Sudan, the UAE, so on and so forth. So all these things are interconnected. Everyone has a stake in this. Not just the moral question, but your political systems have been hijacked. Like any semblance of democracy you might have has been hijacked. Your tax dollars have been hijacked. Your media, everything has been hijacked and is at the mercy of, to me, Vicki, and people might agree or disagree, Zionism is literally just an extension of white supremacy. It's another form of it. And that's how I sincerely encourage everyone to really think about it.
Man, y'all, didn't he break that down so well? Oh, that's so good, Brother Richard. Let me say something. Everybody, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, share. We are doing our ongoing international broadcast together. Brother Richard and I will give you all the official name and details of that, but something along the lines of the Black World News he and I will be doing on a regular basis, where we're going to be connecting the dots with what's happening nationally in our respective countries from which we proceed, like the United States, and in his case, the UK, and around the world. Yes, there's an interconnection between all of this, and we want you to make sure that you stay tuned, beloved. Make sure that you subscribe to VickiDillard.tv. That's my channel here, but also, most importantly, go to my email list, and Brother Richard's going to give you his information too at the end. Go to my email list on my website at Vicki Planet. It's pinned at the top of my website. You can get my products and all my stuff there, but scroll to the bottom, input your email. Why? Because when you see my content on another platform like African Diaspora News Channel, when you see me drop a product, when you see my school starts here, when you see another launch, when my team will send you out a message when Brother Richard and I get our regular schedule going, because I know that's a big deal with you all knowing consistently what's what, so you can know when to tune in. My team will send you a reminder, all of the information that you need to be notified about stuff that I'm doing, stuff that we're doing. Join the email list so that way we can connect with you outside of the platforms. Y'all understand that? So that's number one. Family. We were talking extensively about the theft of Zionists, interrelated to Zionists in the United States, in New York, and our brother is helping us to connect the dots with the connection of Zionist theft, land theft, property theft around the world. And he specifically just broke down to us what the Nakba is related to Palestinian lands. Yes, so profound. And we're going to go a little bit further, but I want to say this, and this might surprise some of you. I may wait to do some of this in the end, Brother Richard, because I want you to jump in with some other points. But he's not the only one. You all understand this is a huge movement out there, Brother Richard. I'm only using that rabbi and all the others, that many of the other ones that supported him, and the fact that he has a long, extensive history as a lawyer, former lawyer. His work was so egregious, he was disbarred. Remember, he had previously had a criminal case in 2018. He didn't go to jail for it. He just pleaded guilty. He turned around and committed more crimes later, right? To which he's going to prison. Why am I bringing this up? Brother Richard, there's many others that are connected to this, specifically related to Black Americans. In one case, even more recent than the one that I just read from, this one happened a few months ago. Guess what happened, Brother Richard? This one involves a Zionist judge that helped to do it. So not just the perpetrators as attorneys and real estate agents and brokers and so forth, right? But the actual judge is the one that made headlines recently in recent months, who was accused of just rubber stamping documents and allowing the court system to allow paperwork to transfer into the hands of these criminals. So I wanted you to know that was just one case. I want the audience to know we're just using that one, you understand? But it's a big, big problem. And this is another reason why, when I was looking into it, Black citizens there said they've been talking about this for years and nobody gave a damn. Y'all understand? Nobody listened. Brother Richard, I want to play this quick clip. Y'all just bear with me because I'm using my other device. Let me know if y'all can hear this. I want to play this. Let me know if y'all can hear this clip. This is a news clip. Why? This in New York, y'all know they got a new mayor there, Mendami. Am I saying his name right? I was messing with him because when he came out and didn't give Black Americans credit, but he walked back what he said because I was calling him Man Damn It. So I'd be confusing his real name.
But did he walk it back, Vicki? Did he walk it back?
A little bit. He tried to say he basically, he may have used the word apology, but he basically said that he messed up by not also crediting Black Americans for creating America, because he made a statement that basically just said it's immigrants that's responsible.
Yeah, I saw that statement.
Yeah. So he did try to walk it. And like I said, I'm not giving too much credit, but I'm not going to lie either. He did address it to try to, say, hey, he should have made sure, that he properly included, Black Americans in that statements, and talked about our extraordinary, the reality of, New York, not just New York, but the United States in general. So Black folks don't care. It's not that we don't mind other folks getting credit for what they actually did, but when you try to take over, there's a whole agenda, there's a whole lot of stuff that folks are doing throughout the country. You can't be that tone deaf. And in some instances, folks are not tone deaf. They just don't give a damn, you see. And it's when Black folks go crazy on them, then they have to turn around and start doing little stuff now to recognize, they just expect us to just take what they say and do. So he did honestly address that in a more substantive way, trying to rectify the fact that he should not have, left Black Americans out of that conversation in the just kind of sort of flippant way, giving almost all credit to immigrants. That was the problem with that. It was not appropriate. So he did try to walk it back a little bit. So I'm gonna give him credit for that. But this is what I want you all to listen to here. This is a news, Brother Richard, I pulled this up. This is a news piece. Here it is. Where is it? Y'all let me know if you can hear this. It's almost an hour-long press conference, but this is only 2 minutes. Can y'all hear this before I start to play it? Let me know the sound check.
It was an arrest that
Can y'all
made
hear?
headlines. Councilmember Chi Osei thrown to the ground by NYPD officers during an anti-eviction.
Before I go further, I need y'all to give me a thumbs up. Can you hear it, Brother Richard? Okay, you can't hear? Okay, great. So I always like to do that before I end up playing the whole thing, because I be y'all said yes. Okay, the family said yes, they can hear. Y'all watch this. Here's a clip. Remember, New York
was an arrest.
New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Remember, he's the new New York mayor, right? The issue is so important. What we're talking about, Brother Richard. Guess what they're doing? I'll let the news, I'll let CBS News New York tell you.
Made headlines. Council member Chi Osei thrown to the ground by NYPD officers during an anti-eviction protest. It has also put deed theft back into the headlines. Investigative reporter Tim McNicholas has been following this issue closely, and he explains how the city is now taking action.
What do we want? Stop deed theft. From protests to one-on-one interviews.
This deed definitely is fraudulent.
Deed theft is a problem we've highlighted time and time again. It's when a scammer steals someone's home, often by forging documents or tricking someone into signing over a deed.
City government has too often stood idly by while deed theft occurs.
Now, Mayor Mamdani says his new Office of Deed Theft Prevention will flag suspicious property filings, work with law enforcement, and educate homeowners on protections.
Every New Yorker should be able to lead a dignified life in the home that they grew up in and the city that they love.
A CBS News New York investigation earlier this month found complaints about deed theft to the New York Attorney General have tripled in the last few years, jumping 240% from the start of 2023 through 2025. The topic of homeowner protections made headlines again this week when Brooklyn Councilmember Chi Osei was arrested fighting a constituent's eviction. The new office will be led by Peter White.
I told you it's almost an hour long, but I wanted to give you all enough information to know it's so serious that the brand new mayor, it had to start an entire deed theft prevention. And as you can see, he's got a lot of black folks on it, because guess who's disproportionately affected by deed theft, Brother Richard? Anybody want to guess? And guess who they're not saying are some of the very ones that's behind it and set the precedent for others to do it. We already know. That's why we're bringing this up. And we will not fail to mention it and to bring up the extraordinary importance of that. But what I want to say, I'm bringing it up too, Brother Richard. You know why? Because I want my family from New York that might be affected by this, number one, to know, look into this and get involved in this. If you feel like that your family heirloom, the property of your family or you is in any way, form, or fashion connected to any sort of suspicious deed theft claim. That's number one. But notice that this is a deed theft prevention. What I want to say is, black family, we got to start getting politically dirty with how we are going to be unrelenting. We cannot just always be on the defensive. We got to not only participate in governmental bureaus and agencies that help us to get our homes once the process has started. We have got to start actually looking for people that's behind this and see if we cannot start to sue them and every other interrelated agency and person, and not only sue them, and in some cases, I'm saying you all need to start looking at criminal stuff related to them. I said every group, every agency, and where there has not been a statute of limitation that has expired, you need to go that far. And to the degree there is a statute of limitation, you know what you need to do? Work with the lawmakers to see if you can get that changed too. We got a whole lot of work to do, and it's absolutely possible to do it. And when you got black lawmakers and city council persons that's helping him now, that's claiming to be there for you, I'm saying we're not asking for enough. It's not just enough for us to get our property back. We gotta go. When I say dirty, what I mean dirty is I'm saying we gotta hold folks accountable for punishment through the system as well. And any and everybody who is seen and unseen, every hidden hand. And I want those of you that are affected by such things, because I've been to Chicago a year and a half ago, Brother Richard, when I did my Black Town Hall there. And what some folks don't know is one of our activists, Sister Jessica Jackson. She's going to be doing an interview for me in a few days, y'all. So y'all stay tuned for that. We've done several interviews here, Brother Richard. Our sister has gone viral many times, millions of views through online many times, and on mainstream media. They cover her sometimes. Our sister Jessica Jackson. People want her on there to talk about immigration and us giving illegal immigrants tangibles and resources they don't give us. But Brother Richard, guess what made her get involved in it in the first place? You ready? She said she never intended to get into any of that, Brother Richard. That wasn't her activism. Guess what she was doing? She initially started to save the illegal theft of her mom's home. And in the process of her fighting legally, guess what she found out? That's when she realized that the city and the Democrats and others were intentionally providing resources and home and tangibles, home, shelter and stuff to other groups. That's what made her even get. And her intention was never even to deal with them. You see, it was in the process of her going through the legal system to fight for title. You understand? For the illegal theft that was taking place, that she bumped into the fact that they were allowing other, you understand? So this is what I want us to see. So before we go crazy and say, oh, something is wrong with Black Americans and all this kind of stuff, no, find out how she got into this situation in the first place. And she's still fighting for her home right now in court, Brother Richard. And she said some of even the Republican conservative people that want to bring her on to talk about the immigrant stuff, she said they don't want her to bring up the fact that she fight for her home. So now she doesn't want to do as many interviews with them because all they want to talk about is the immigrant stuff without ever talking about what? The fact that she's fighting for her home. And this is what I want you all to understand related to this. But I want to say this, Brother Richard, and I want you to jump in and I want you to go either direction that you want to go. Actually, Brother Richard, I want you to jump in now, please, with your thoughts. And then I'll say something. Then I want you to come back in, please. Because I said a lot. That's a lot for me to just be like, okay, no, I need to hear what you got to say.
My bad. I was on mute for a second.
No
I mean, imagine the scale of this theft and appropriation, and these are the cases. These are the cases that we know about.
Right.
So this is just the shit that's come to light. That's the has been investigated. That the media has almost been cornered and forced into covering. So like I wonder, I imagine how much more broadly this is going on across the United States. And again, you know, when you hear about families that have the resources, the energy, the capacity to fight this, that's one thing. More power to those families.
Yes.
But there are going to be very, very vulnerable families who are not going to have the same means to navigate the legal system. They're not going to have the same resources and the ability to fight back. And I would imagine too that probably this theft is really predicated on the fact that the assumption is communities will not, do not, cannot fight back. But when I'm hearing about this, Vicki, and this is really very, very new to me, for me, it fits more generally in the, you know, when I hear it's Black people being disproportionately impacted by this, it fits into the broader plan. And I believe there is a plan specifically to remove Black descendants of slavery in America off the agenda, off the ladder for a whole number of reasons. And so it is horrifying. It shocks me, but it doesn't surprise me. And I can only really underscore your message, Vicki, which is, you know, rather than reacting to these things when they happen, which is all well and good, communities need to organize to prevent these things happening in the first place. Launch, crowdfund, community fund a legal defense, send these people to the cleaner, get them charged, get them convicted, get them punished, because this is the only real deterrent for these disgraceful people. There's no point appealing to the moral compass, which is not there. There's no point appealing to the moral compasses of judges, because to be honest, Vicki, I mean, I bet America is just like the UK. In the UK, it's a proven fact. It's a proven fact that judges are so further inherently biased against Black and certain other marginalized groups. And I'd imagine the biases are probably the same with the judges. So your message, Vicki, about organizing, fighting, advocating, you know, linking up with other fellow travelers of a similar disposition. Like, you can't take on the entire system by yourself. It's impossible. So, you know, linking up with other people that might be on dealing with a similar situation is so important, because the more it goes on, the more it will go on. The only time it will stop is if these people are forced to stop in their tracks, and there's accountability and punishment, and then after that a deterrent. But this is really worrying, Vicky. This is like part of the silent war we often don't see, you know.
Yes.
We all are conditioned to see heinous examples of heartbreaking police brutality, deaths in custody. We're accustomed to seeing this on our newsfeed because it's there, we can see it. But these sorts of kind of economic warfare, I guess, is really what it is. This kind of devious economic warfare being waged on Black Americans is a silent war that, you know, has to be fought. Because, not to be too dramatic, but I would argue that, you know, the existence of American slave descendants, their legacy, their communities, their continuity and existence depends on this kind of I don't want to say gentrification, I would call it social cleansing, or even ethnic cleansing. If it's Black people being forced out of their homes, that's a form of ethnic cleansing. So yeah, I mean, I know your work is and will remain a rallying call for people, Vicky, and hopefully a place where people can also you know, in the community start to form mechanisms, you know, because they're, you know, to find the lawyers that are on board, you know, to find the community organizers and link up. Because I mean, I sense we're just really seeing the tip of the iceberg with this problem, Vicky. We're only hearing about the big cases that come to light, because families have got the resources, the know-how, the fortitude, and the strength to fight. You're not going to hear about all those people who are really vulnerable. Because you know what it's like, Vicky. There's a lot of people in our communities, they'll just get a letter through the door, and they'll just strike fear into their hearts. They won't really understand that they have certain rights, that, you know, there are certain deadlines and timelines. There's things they can do. A lot of people just surrender and give up. They just look at the stress, they look at the legal bills, etc. But these people cannot be allowed to just steal family homes and just socially gentrify areas which damn well belong to Black Americans who built the country. This is, you know, Black American slave descendants, for me, are the only group that were not immigrants to the United States. And of course, the other elephant in the room, nobody really talks about the Black presence in America, which predated slavery. You know, Black people been in America, built America, and, you know, and that's the reason why this is happening. You know, I think white America has always been very fearful of the power that Black people have. And, you know, they're trying to circumvent this now. They're trying to disempower, disenfranchise the communities. I'm sure that's what's happening.
There's no question. Everything you said. See, that's why I needed you to jump in, because you made so many powerful points that are spot on, that it was absolutely exact and correct. And especially when you said that you're imagining that some of the families that they're going after, they're really the most vulnerable, and they don't expect them to fight back. They don't have the resources. Brother Richard, that's exactly the case. When you delve into a lot of the stories, that's exactly the case. But I want to say something to you. Here's another one. Do y'all see this headline? Can you see the title there, Brother Richard?
Yeah, show me the notes.
You see the year that this was covered?
2010, yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, bless you, dear sister Vicky. That's hold on, Vicky. What are you doing there?
Okay. But I was fighting this before 2010. That's when the local newspaper actually covered one of many stories that I was fighting while I was losing everything over and over and over again. So people like to run their mouth about a lot of stuff, but I want to let folks know the civil work I was doing before I was ever targeted in an unjust criminal case. You see, that's the part of the article. And that newspaper ended up going out of business as one of the local ones, because it had several by Peter Marcus from the Denver Daily News, that was the name of that one. That's a particular. Y'all see that? I just have to show people the receipts, Brother Rich, because you know how this go. Why am I bringing this up? I was fighting this before 2010. That's when they covered it. I'm bringing that up to say that was a similar fight. But that fraud, initially, I was upset with the local people that I was directly dealing with, meaning like real estate agents, brokers, and they had their faults. But what I did not expect, Brother Richard, as someone that was just getting properties, watch this. I didn't expect judges, trustees, Wall Street, law firms, and lawyers to be involved like that. See, that's what got Vicki messed up. And that's the rabbit hole I went down, you understand? Without me understanding everything, but me asking the right questions without even knowing everything is what made me dangerous. And the fact that with no help from anybody else, I was generating media attention on my own. That made me another problem, you understand? For the powers that be. Do you feel what I'm saying? There's nobody off in the corner somewhere. So for a couple of years before even 2010, you see, that's when that particular newspaper covered it. I was also screaming and hollering at a meeting, and the people there are connected with an activist group that was already existing. They had some resources, and because of something I said at a meeting, they end up paying and flying me out to Seattle, Washington, back to Chicago. I'm forgetting another state. Anyway, I went to several places, and before they signed that multi-billion-dollar bailout bill, I sat there in Chicago with more receipts at the Drake Hotel with a new bottom line national organization, because people just play too much out there. You know, got a lot of gossipers that just say dumb stuff online. So I had to give people receipts and stuff when it comes to Vicki. Sitting there in the presence of several attorneys generals that were the ones that were responsible for drafting the multi-billion-dollar plan to demand that at least some of those resources go to the average person. That still was an inferior thing that they signed off on. But I'm saying it wouldn't even been that had we not been at the table screaming and hollering and holding the different states attorney generals that did a meeting there together. So we end up meeting them there, and they allowed me to go. And I was not officially a part of that group at first. They heard me screaming and hollering at a meeting that I attended that was literally completely packed, literally standing room only, because I was standing in the back. And I just went and screaming and hollering. And from there, based on my own individual fight. And that's when I learned it was so much bigger than what I ever could have imagined. And that's what struck a chord. I'm trying to let folks know this was a similar fight. And can I say one more thing, Brother Richard? I want you to jump in, and then I want us to talk a little bit more about Palestine. Y'all ain't ready for this. You ready for this, Brother Richard? I don't think you're ready for this. Guess what? When my partner at the time, were looking to purchase property, guess who ended up taking a lot of money from us and ended up scamming us? You ready for this? A Jewish lawyer out of Philadelphia. And Vicki filed multiple grievances on him to the board that oversees the attorneys there, to no avail, but it's still a record. I'm just saying that specifically. And he was also disbarred in another state that he was practicing law in, and then ended up getting his license in another state. Oh yeah. That's my personal story. Vicki is the story. So a lot of times it's a lot of moving parts about me. And I have my fight and my knowing that can't nobody tell me nothing, damn it, on no day and in no lifetime. Because this is my journey. And I have seen face to face how these energies and these people and the entities by and through them work. And so this is why I fight like I fight. And this is why your voice, in fact, does matter. Are y'all hearing me today? And this is the reason why you don't ever stop talking, even when it seems like nobody is listening. And I'm looking almost 20 years later, because remember I said 2010 is when they did that article. My fight was a few years before that. It was before the official crash even started. But I'm making the point that this is a playbook that they have. This is something that's been going on a long time. And this is a thing that they hope and seek to suppress your voice on. Do you understand? And don't ever give up. So Brother Richard, please jump in. And then I want you, if you could, I want you to talk a little bit about, if you want, the Balfour Declaration, because I hear people talking about it from time to time. I did a special webinar some time back on it, and I've forgotten some of the details of what I researched, but I took a few notes on some things because I didn't want to forget that. And the reason I'm bringing it up specifically, you know why? It's because the Balfour Declaration is directly connected to Brit written. So I definitely wanted your 2 cents on it. And of course, that having to do with the direct theft of an entire land of people that don't belong to them folks. So anyway, your thoughts on all of this? And
Yeah, just I'll give you a real kind of oversimplification, and there's real good scholars and scholarship to if you really want the intricate details of this. But essentially, the Balfour Declaration was the UK government, the Home Secretary Arthur Balfour, and the head of the Bank of England was one Rothschild or another. I can't remember the first name, but it was a letter, an agreement between these two parties to gift Palestine to the Zionist project. And, Zionism, and again, this is a big oversimplification, but it's essentially true. The founders, Theodore Herzl and others, the founders of Zionism were pretty much atheist, non-God believing, a mixture of European, but maybe culturally Jewish, but like you're talking about for the most part European atheists. And yeah, this is an agreement between the leaders of Zionism, the UK government and the Bank of England, basically agreeing that they're going to partition a country and give it to the Zionist project when there's like a million people living there. And I mean, I want people to try to imagine as well what 800,000 people really looks like, what that moment really was. The Haganah, the Stern Gang, going around from door to door, terrorizing people, kicking them out of their houses, pushing them into the Sinai and Egypt and wherever else. You talk about great crimes of the last century, and it's interesting, this one doesn't really get a hearing. The big crimes generally don't, the crimes of King Leopold, century before that. But the point is, this was just the theft of someone else's country. And what's crazy is what happened. So basically in Arabic, the Nakba basically translates to something like the crisis, the catastrophe. The Nakba basically means catastrophe. And this is how this is remembered by many Palestinians whose grandparents are still alive who experienced this. But what's really important, Vicky, actually, I'm glad you mentioned it, is because right now there's a Nakba happening in Lebanon, being by Israel and its airstrikes, and they're ordering the evacuation of people in southern Lebanon. They're telling them to leave their own country, hundreds of thousands of people. So this isn't some piece of kind of ancient history. This is happening right now, and people need to understand that if Israel and its European benefactors are allowed, because really, I want to make this about just one little country, Israel. It is about Israel. I mean, I've seen Israel from the sky, Vicky. When I was deported from Israeli prison in 2018, there's a whole nother story. But when they kicked me out and I was deported trying to get to Gaza, I saw Israel from the plane. And the first thing I remember thinking was, damn, that's a small, it's a tiny country. Tiny country. So it isn't just only about Israel itself. Israel can only carry out doing what it's doing because of the political and diplomatic cover, but primarily the weapons, that we provide Israel with. But it's not going to stop with Lebanon. Do we imagine that the Greater Israel Project is really going to, at some point, just suddenly decide to, all right, lads, let's call it a day, let's rein it in? No, when you see the increasing militarized police forces in the US, in Europe, in the UK, when you see the push for Zionism to appropriate more control in government and politics and media and culture, this thinking is going to extend to regular working class neighborhoods throughout your country, Vicky, and mine. I mean, right now, even mention the word Israel in the wrong way in public, and the police are literally knocking on your door now.
Why? That's crazy.
Yeah, people are being imprisoned. Direct action groups are being, thrown under the bus. So, this isn't. We're talking about a massively sophisticated, developed system, but has used all the means at its disposal to seize control of our governments. How does a tiny country in the Middle East that's like 70 years old,
Come on.
populated by a bunch of Europeans after cleansing the land of the indigenous people, how does this country wield so much power around the world? It's a tiny country, you know, with a fake language, like, sorry to say it, like
yeah, it is
anyway,
fake.
like
That's right.
yeah, it
That's
is.
right.
And you know, these are the questions people
They
need to
need
ask.
sunscreen. They need sunscreen, right, Richard?
Oh, real talk. Yeah, this is this is
you know why I'm bringing that out, don't you?
yeah, I never wish cancer on nobody, but for your viewers that don't know, Israel is full of European imposters who say God gave them the land, but they are dying and suffering from skin cancer rates higher than any other country in the world, next to Australia, but only because Australia is also populated by a bunch of white people that are not indigenous to the land, just like Israel is. And so, yeah, you know, these people, what is it, Vicky? God promised them the land, but he didn't give them the complexion for the protection.
Come on now. Come on now.
And I didn't really think the divine makes mistakes like that. You know what I mean?
Come on now.
Apparently God took a day off when he decided that Europeans had the right to Israel, and he forgot to give them just a little sprinkle at least of melanin. But they're suffering out there with it breaks my heart, you know.
Years and years ago, I told about talking to a sister of mine. Actually, while I was in the belly of the beast, we was talking about the sun and how the sun, meaning for folks with melanin, black folks in particular, is our energy, and it's their enemy. The sun is our energy, but it's their enemy. So, baby, if the sun is your energy and it powers every living thing, what the hell? What does that tell us about you? If the sun is our energy, but the sun is your enemy, baby, do we need a history book? Do we need any?
They need their energy is from something very dark, right? If your energy is not come from the sun, because we get in the sun and we start looking healthy, our hair starts to kink a little bit, we get brown, we look even the fairer complexion people, like myself, we get in the sun and it's like the dominant gene, the melanin, like starts popping, your body starts reacting, you feel good. These people can't survive 10 minutes in the country they claim God gave them. So either God is not perfect and divine, or God's got a sense of humor. All these people are full of shit and they just stole someone else's country. They have no right to be there. And they should show some fucking humility as well, Vicky. Sorry to excuse my French. They should show some humility. Like, the Palestinians are human beings and they're treated like dogs, less than dogs. In fact, Zionism treats dogs and animals better than they treat the Palestinians. And you know, this is I don't know if people are aware of the real murder toll in Gaza since October 2023, but I think it's at Johns Hopkins University, very esteemed organizations and experts have been looking at the real death toll in Palestine, direct, indirect, the unaccounted for, the bodies still under the rubble. We're talking about 700,000 people being killed.
Unbelievable.
And yet some people are still arguing about if it's a genocide. Can you imagine, Vicky? You even have Holocaust survivors, God bless them, having the courage to speak out. Holocaust survivors are calling it a genocide. But the American government and the UK, we'd be very, you know, they better be very careful before we use this language of genocide, Vicky. We need to be careful. But of course, you know, it is what it is. I think, as you say, people really understand how this thing operates now. People saw what is happening in Palestine, but more than that, people are now understanding the direct implication for their own countries, how this is part of a systematic web of oppression, which doesn't start here, it doesn't end there. It's spherical, it's around the entire world. And you know, Vicky, it really breaks my heart when I think about, you know, not just the suffering that Black Americans and Black American slave descendants went through in America, not just the greatest crime in world history, in my opinion, and I think factually, the slave trade is so horrible because of the beyond building the literal infrastructure of the country, the banks, the insurance companies, the free labor that powered the cotton industry and others. Black Americans have made so many incredible cultural and amazing contributions to America and the world. And there should be some humility. There should be some humility. And, you know, that humility should be universal. But these people have no soul, I don't believe. There is no moral compass. I mean, we saw, you know, Jeffrey Epstein. It's interesting. Again, Vicki, like I circle back to the start of our conversation. Isn't it interesting when someone like Epstein can commit the crimes he committed, all of a sudden his religion and his political affiliations and his IDF t-shirt and his APAC, all of a sudden that's nothing to do with it. And they're trying to individualize it. They're trying to individualize it with this guy as if he wasn't connected to Hollywood, the police, to all these different powerful people, including the UK royal family as well. And the UK royal family, I don't even want to get into them. But again, this is how this world system operates beyond religion. Because, you know, the European kings and queens of centuries ago, it doesn't matter what religion they follow. It doesn't matter if these guys are Jewish. The central thread that connects all of this is European so-called exceptionalism, colonialism, and it's just reinvented itself in the modern context. You know, I don't really, I mean, this is, people might disagree with this. I don't really view the push to get Black Americans' homes stolen, you know, I don't view it as disconnected from the desperation the Europeans have in the African continent now. Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, the Sahel states, kicking out those European dogs from Africa. This shit is all interconnected. It is not separate. And more power to those Black communities who are having the courage to fight back in those communities. I pray and I hope they're successful. And it's up to the new Black media actually to cover this stuff. In the US, the UK, Europe, it's up to us, because we better believe if we stop, they will do even more. I know I'm saying a lot, Vicki, just one more quick point.
Yes, please.
Back to the New York case that you talked about, this guy stealing people's homes. Imagine just for a second, the precedent that must have been set before him to think, even after conviction, he can go and steal another 20 homes.
Come on.
What were the others who have not been caught? What were they doing for his behavior to become the norm? And I wonder why he was actually held to account. You know, did he go off script a little bit, or was it just a case of, thank God, a few Black families managed to get together and fight him? I'd be interested to know why he was the kind of sacrificial lamb, because there are probably hundreds and hundreds just like him. And when the judge is on code with these scumbags, well, there's not much chance. The police, the judges, the courts, all of it, the media. It's a very, very difficult battle, but it's a battle that can be won. And actually, if anyone, I'd argue, if anyone has the ingenuity, the resources, the know-how, the conviction, the intelligence to challenge this wicked system in America, it is foundational Black Americans in America. It's always been. If anyone can do this, if anyone can beat it down, Vicki, it's your beloved community, for real.
I got to hit the gavel on that one. You're exactly right, Brother Richard. We've been here about an hour and 15 minutes almost. We were going to talk about a couple other things. I think we should save that for our next one. Make sure we do it soon, so that way we can chop this one up real clean and then let this one upload. But before we get out of here, there's a couple other things I want to say, and I definitely want your input on it, okay? I want to show you an article that certainly you and I didn't talk about much of this that I brought up today, or you, but we certainly didn't talk about what I'm fixing to mention to you now, and there's a reason for that. Before I say that, I want to say this. I was following the case of South Africa when their previous foreign minister, the great Dr. Naledi Pandor, because I did multiple broadcasts on hers on African Diaspora News Channel, the great Dr. Naledi Pandor, she's no longer the foreign minister right now. She was replaced with one of her, I don't want to say underlings, but one of her mentees, because he was on the scene too while she was still in office. Remember, when October 7th happened, after that, it was she wasn't the only one, but she was one of the major ones, this Black woman out of South Africa, that had an outsized voice and served as the major impetus for filing the ICC case against Israel. I don't know how many people know that. It was she. Watch this. I did broadcast on her Multiple different kinds. You know why? Guess what? One of the broadcasts I did. Brother Richard, do you know that United States senators wrote a letter? When they wrote a letter threatening the ICC if they put a warrant out for arrest on Netanyahu, that was later. But they was also threatening the ICC folks for even keeping the case going, right?
Yes.
Guess who they sent a copy of that letter to? That Black woman, Dr. Naledi Pandor. I did a broadcast saying, how dare U.S. senators, damn you for threatening that Black woman. Because do you know what our U.S. senators said, what they actually said in that letter that was signed by multiple Congress folks? They said, if you mess with Israel, you messing with us. So I asked the audience, I asked the world, who the hell does America think she is? And what does it tell you about the inextricable connection between the United States of Israel? I was calling it that before people recently started calling it that. I said, what does it tell you when you have U.S. Congress folks writing an international judicial body and CCing a physical copy to the Black woman that was the force behind making sure? Because if South Africa didn't have all the weapons to fight them, guess what weapons they use? The courts. The diplomacy, right? I mean, rhetoric, right? Telling the world and the public about, because I know I was following it. Watch this. She subsequently did not maintain her position during the last election in South Africa, right? And the ANC, for the first time in I don't know how many decades, did not get over 50%. Watch this. So they sent that. Your government in America threatened this South African foreign lady. Watch this. I'm bringing that up to say that was a danger for them, because even though, quote unquote, South Africa didn't have the weapons, the fact that they had the power to bring this before the ICC, regardless of whether they were going to go further with it, brought a lot of things to the world's attention. I want everybody to know, do what you can, even if it seems like it's not enough. You still have your own part to play in the large scheme of things, but that's one thing. I'm also bringing up South Africa for this reason, Brother Richard. And I don't want to go too far with my fight with Tucker Carlson, because I know a lot of people was giving Tucker credit for going off on Israel and all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. I'm going to leave it alone. My real problem with him, because I'm not buying what that ninja is doing. But this is one thing he did recently still. On the one hand, he's sitting there talking about the Palestinian stuff and Israel is doing too much. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson now. And I get it. But I feel like he's only doing that because he's trying to maintain the trust of the disaffected MAGA folks. And so he knows that if he doesn't break away from white folk, white supremacy, and look like he's a rebel, they're going to lose all of too much of their base to the other side altogether. So at the very least, let's show where, let's show I'm the rebel. You understand what I'm saying? So I can at least keep a lot of the sheep and we don't completely lose them. And then once we further along down the line, we slow down how bold we are with our, imperialism, because he's still pro-imperialism. Then we can turn the tide a little bit. But it's fine, the good stuff he's saying, okay, but I'm not buying the overall stuff is what I'm trying to say, especially seeing that his dad is CIA, he was trying to be CIA, and there's too many other things I don't have time to get into with Tucker Carlson. Why am I bringing up Tucker Carlson? Because similarly to what you said about white supremacy, not only in New York and throughout the United States, but we're specifically talking about New York and the deed theft and recent history and how we see Zionists and Israelis directly involved in that. But the similar international thing with Palestine, which we know Israel is involved in a whole bunch of stuff all over the world, including in Sudan and so many other places. But we're specifically talking about that one because that one has outsized attention. Watch this. The reason I'm bringing up Tucker in South Africa, because do you know that, remember, one of the first things Trump did was when he took the oath of office, what did he say? He started South Africa. First thing, he started attacking what? BRICS. People keep forgetting that when Trump, before he was deep in, and I was covering it then, pay attention to what he was doing and saying early on, not down the road. Watch. What does Tucker, Reginald, your gift is blessed 1,000-fold. He's one of my, he said, for me and you, he gave us a gift. Anyway, watch this. What Tucker said recently, and this is what folks forget, just like Israel felt like they had a right to go over there. They left the mountains to go into the sun in what we call the Middle East, which is not accurate. It's part of Africa and also Asia, parts of Asia, but nevertheless, the so-called Middle East. Watch this. It's because they needed a homeland. One of the reasons why folks need to come to my class is because I break down the fact that that was not the first time that that group of people was kicked out of other countries. See, that's the history they don't teach us. That some of your own quote unquote brothers that was more in proximity with you would let your ass stay over there. But that's another story. Tucker recently, Brother Richard, was talking to a South African official. And guess what Tucker said? I did a broadcast on this recently. Guess what he said? He said that white folks deserve their own homeland too. Tucker said that recently about South Africa and how the South Africans are pissed. Remember, that's why the United States is getting involved in what? The farming and the land. Because, you know, South Africa, folks like Malema and other groups have really been pushing. You don't get to just say apartheid is over and there not be consequence and punishment and restitution. See, that's what they don't like. They want us to talk about we didn't overcome something. But the moment you say the land that you're sitting on right now, you got to give it back. There has to be consequences. You don't get to just keep the land and talk about we shall overcome. No, that's what I'm talking about, that we got to go on the offense with stuff too, that we don't just let folks listen. Watch this. Tucker said that white folks deserve their own homeland. That's the same mindset, Brother Richard, that why they feel like they have the right to take over in Israel. You understand? They know that they're not indigenous, and they know that they're also a problem to the world in different places of the world. But I'm trying to get you all to see that even undercover in South Africa, here you have Tucker that claims to be a rebel. You understand? He still is promoting that in the South Africa. You understand what I'm saying? In the South, he really still doing it with Palestine too. He just feel like that Israel is going too far with how they're not covering themselves. They're not covering their tracks well. That's why he keeps saying anything that makes America richer and safer, he's for. He just feel like the imperialists are losing ground faster than what they expected. That's why he's mad. They need to slow up. So I want you to jump in, but I want to bring that up to simply say that mindset, even with Tucker, who claims to have made some changes in how he believes the war with Palestine is going. He said recently, the white folks deserve their own homeland, specific to the Afrikaners. And that whole, you can look at it, you can pull it right up. I think that thing probably got 1 million views or close to it by now. And ain't no telling how many replays and other folks that have talked about it, but I certainly covered him. And I'm trying to show this ninja still believe that. You understand?
Yes.
They believe they have a right.
I mean, I think, Vicky, like, honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head with Tucker now. You can take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I know I'm an outsider. I'm not in the US. But, you know, I keep a close eye on US politics, Vicky, as you know, and how it really looks to me. I mean, the first thing I got to say about Tucker Carlson is like the most generous I can be to him is that a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right.
But really what I think he's trying to do, I think he correctly views, okay, two things. Like Trump has whatever momentum the MAGA movement was getting, Trump has utterly destroyed it because their main predication was no more wars, no more foreign money for wars, etc. And Trump has completely gone against that. So I think what Tucker and people are really seeing now is that it's very likely at the next election, if Trump is not impeached or convicted, if you know the next election, I just think the whoever's Democrat is going to win. Yeah. Like after George Bush, there was like America was ready for a political revolution. Right. Political revolution. The Occupy movement, blah, blah, blah. And then bam, they put Obama there to kind of pacify everyone. And I think essentially, in a nutshell, I think Tucker and his ilk, they know that MAGA is dead. They know Republicans going to lose the next election. So I think they're now starting to think about how do we reform, reinvigorate, rebuild post the next Democratic president. We're going to aim for that president to only get, you know, one term, 4 years. But I mean, it says, I mean, Tucker, when he says we need a homeland too. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if he said that in Europe. You said that in Europe, that's one thing. I mean, you're talking about South Africa. That's like the original. That's like the original people. Yeah, damn it. And he's showing you. He's showing you exactly who he is. And my last point about Tucker is really this. Until, like, the only way Tucker, I'll take him seriously, if he goes on public TV and apologizes to Black America for the damage and pain he's inflicted for years and years and years, spewing anti-black bile on Fox News and other chat shows, pushing the black crime myth, pushing the 60-30 myth, pushing the drugs bullshit, pushing all of this horseshit, unless he apologizes sincerely for that and Black America chooses to forgive him, I can't take the guy seriously. He's a cynical opportunist. But here's the thing about Tucker. He is a very, very smart and intelligent guy who has a very good understanding of history. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And we need to be there's many in our communities, even in the UK. I see a lot of people sharing, oh, look at the wonderful Tucker Carlson, look at what he says. We need to be very, very, very wary of these people, Vicky, because what life has also taught me is that white supremacy and the white supremacist system is so very clever at putting white folks and black folks who are palatable to their message in front of us to bamboozle us.
Come on now.
Like, you know what I mean? My mum always taught me if something looks too good to be true, then it probably is. So like all these idiots like Candace Owens and all the rest of them suddenly having a moral epiphany in the middle of the night, and they want to, you know, Candace wants to come back home to the black community if she was ever viewed, if she ever viewed herself as part of it, by the way. I don't know. But now Tucker is these people are sick opportunists, and actually if we give them too much platform, if we give them too much legitimacy, they can become very, very, very dangerous. You know, I see people talking about Tucker for president.
Brother Richard, why are you trying to make my pressure go up? Don't do that. Is exactly one of my issues. But this is a side note, but this is what I'm trying to tell people. For example, this. You see this?
Oh, well, I didn't even know that, Vicky. When I see that, this is people. One of my teachers always tells me, follow the money, and in that sense, like
brother Richard, look, watch this. After I started screaming about it on social media, I started doing broadcasts, going crazy. See, people get confused with my numbers. It's who watches me. Watch this. Just like when I was talking about TD Jakes and this connection to Paula White. Nobody was talking about that. Guess who started talking about it? Tucker. I've been calling Tucker out, and so he's trying to make himself look like his people that's watching me, trying to make sure any little narrative that might be coming out with the way he's moving, they try to do the opposite of it because we own to him. So when I started bringing this up like crazy, right? Guess who in recent weeks is no longer with this on Vance's press team? Guess who just magically, after a year of being appointed, after I started talking about this publicly and going crazy, right? Guess who just stepped down recently? You look it up. Don't take my word. Guess who recently stepped down? Was out of White House. I mean, out of Vance's office. Tucker's son now. After I started saying, right, it's suspicious. Then I was bringing up not only his dad's CIA connections, but people don't know that his dad, under CIA, his dad was running a lot of media heads under CIA. Tucker's daddy.
Yeah. You're a problem for them, Vicky. I keep telling people you're a problem for them, Vicky. You are a problem. You are a problem for them,
sir.
Some of them are losing sleep over you. Like I had no idea. I mean, look, just with these two, I had no idea about the stuff you just presented to me. How the hell are people going to try and convince me that Tucker Carlson is somehow a rebel against the system when he is the system? This is the whole thing about Trump. Like, it was our dear brother, and I love him so much. It was Dave Chappelle. It was Dave Chappelle that broke down the same thing with Trump. All this shit's going on over here in the house. All Trump has done has come out and say, everything you think we're doing in there, we are actually doing it. And then he's gone back in. So, like, Tucker Carlson is no more of a rebel than Mr. Anti-War Trump is a rebel to this. These people are the establishment. They just put a new manager there every few years, but the menu is exactly the same. And if I was a betting man, and I'm not a betting man, I would imagine that the financial backers, the financial benefactors, the power brokers underpinning the Republican Party, they are priming Tucker Carlson for the election after the Republicans lose.
That's That's exactly right. And so you're so right, because I'll be going off of him because he goes overboard now with his whole Christian Jesus talk. And it's not because he's a legitimate Christian. Tucker is going overboard with the Christian talk because he knows he has to keep seeding that. So now he's talking about demonic stuff. Now he's talking about satanic. He won't get off of the spiritual talk. And I've been calling him out. He posted a prayer with all kind of folks on YouTube. I posted the prayer and mocked his prayer because it has nothing to do with true spirituality. He's talking to particular base to keep them corralled for exactly what you and I are saying here, is so that they can make sure that they're able to guide and go that group down the path that they need them to go, because they have a long-term strategy in mind. So I'm gonna get off of that, but I want to say this last
Vicki,
part.
I got one more. Can I say one more quick point on that point?
Yes,
Vicki? Yeah.
please.
This is when it, and you know, it was our dear elder Bishop Talbot Swan that taught me this in a conversation I had with him a few years back. I was talking about the fake Christians that appropriate Christianity but don't even want to acknowledge that Jesus is black. Is a whole other thing. But he told me these people are basically fake white Christians. It's just white supremacy in drag. Fake white Christians is just white supremacy in drag.
Come
and
on
that
now.
quote, when he dropped, he's probably forgot about it, but that quote, when he dropped it to me, it stayed in my head ever since then. And what we're seeing now, there's this phenomenon, Vicki, of it's happening in the US, it's definitely happening in the UK. All of a sudden, there's these white nationalists, whatever you want to call them, and they're so angry. And all of a sudden, they're all talking about the church in the UK. And we're Christians, this is a Christian country, even posting videos of them going to church on Sunday. It's all bullshit, Vicki. I'm not saying there's no sincere Christians in the UK, but half of these white dudes all of a sudden trying to rep Christianity, they're just pissed at black and brown people.
Right.
They just hate Muslims. They don't love Christianity. They just hate Muslims.
It's
and actually,
deep.
there's a lot of these people that have been doing debates and stuff in London, and people have been saying, you know, I forget the guy's name. One of them, he's like, you've all heard of Tommy Robinson. There's a guy next to Tommy. There's and
the money that's behind him. I heard
Israeli money, by the way. But there's a guy next to Tommy Robinson, and he was in the debate. And again, this is a guy who's pretending to be Christian for his pretend Christianity to be.
For those that don't know Tommy Robinson, tell our American audience who he is.
Tommy Robinson is a very short, angry, upset white man who actually hates everyone non-white. I mean, he does it under the subterfuge of political Islam, which is almost an oxymoron in terms anyway, but he just hates non-white people, hates immigration. He's turned it into a big grift and he gets a lot of money for it. But he's all about Israel first. But these people have been questioned on their Christianity. They couldn't even tell, you know, their favorite verse in the Bible. Right. They don't care about Christianity. They couldn't name you any verses of scripture because they don't really care about that. They just care about immiserating black and non-white people.
That's exactly right. The last point that I want to make, everybody hit that thumbs up button, family. Make sure, quick commercial, would you all indulge me really quickly here? For those of you that have been giving on Cash App, your super chats on YouTube, those that even give on PayPal sometimes, family, just know, even if we don't acknowledge your gift, just know your gifts are blessed 1,000-fold. Family, you can still get your 2026 calendar. Remember, I bought a whole bunch of extra. We're still not quite halfway through the year yet. It's still going to be a blessing to your life. This is my 2026 pictorial calendar. It's for both men and women. Y'all, it's so yummy. That's the front. That's the back. Every month, you're going to get a very beautiful and yummy picture of your sister with the curly braids. Your gift is blessed 1,000-fold. Shakira, all of you all that are giving. Yes, so this is for men and women. Get it for yourself, for everybody you know and love, for any occasion. For my men, I have a luxury magazine just for men called Hannibal. How many of y'all know that Hannibal was so powerful that white men today are trying to act like that Hannibal, that great warrior was a white man. He wasn't, family. I break down that history in this book, but it's a luxury magazine. Masculines, look what Spirit showed me, some tips for you in this magazine. What does that say? Commerce secrets and masculine spiritual command. Do you all know to this day, Brother Richard, that the great Black Hannibal strategy is still studied in military schools?
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, it is. This yummy brother, baby. And I break down, I give you references, number one, why he's, because if you Google it, you ain't gonna hardly find any black pictures of him. But I give you the history, but most importantly, I give you his principles that are so yummy for my masculines out there. I give you real, look, I'm gonna give y'all one little thing. Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready? I'm giving up a teaser. Brothers, get it and get this for the man in your life, sis. Brother Richard, look. Baby. Y'all see Hannibal, baby. And this one is where I'm talking specifically about, and people don't know a lot of that. So masculines. So that was your luxury magazine for my masculine. For my women, I got a luxury magazine called Venus, baby. The woman is meant to manifest differently from the masculine. Men typically are logical. They are hustlers, labor, all that. They're supposed to do all that. But we manifest, sis. We're meant to, well, of course, we all have masculine and feminine in us, but you all understand what I'm saying. The outside energy that we're meant to, based on our anatomy, is very, very important, because it's not only biological, it's spiritual. So, sis, we're meant to manifest with our divine feminine energy. So I put those secrets in here. My goddesses, I'm always getting testimonies. It's beautiful. Get this for the woman in your life. Go to my website and get that today. So your magazines, all that. And also, family, everybody get your mini gavels. I give you directions on how to use it when you order. Now, thank you for indulging me for this quick commercial, because how many of you all know when you independent media like us, this is one of the ways that you help us to assist to continue to do what we do. Talk black to me, somebody. So I know everybody ought to be happy that you're giving something for this, baby. The reason why you got so many sellouts in mainstream media is because what did our brother tell us? APAC and them. We got multi-billion dollar corporations that buys out folks. So they do a lot of stupid stuff because of money. We're doing things ethically over here. But Brother Richard, I need your 2 cents on this. You ready for this, Brother Richard?
Mm-hmm.
You ready, Brother Richard? What's this date? Well, actually, don't say the date. Watch what it says. Well, it does say the date, but in an unusual way. Y'all see this headline? You see the publication, right? Let me get close to the screen. Let me turn it this way. Can you see it better this way? What about now?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, y'all see now who's the publication? Y'all see? The Times of Israel, right? What's the headline? Democrat, Republican, and this is what I want to talk to you about, Brother Richard. Democrat and Republican lawmakers team up against what? U.S.-Israel military tech synergy. Now, I don't know if y'all been hearing the news, Brother Richard. Have you been hearing how the United States, we're openly trying to merge our militaries?
Mm-hmm.
And more, we've been always doing it.
It's
But
been
now
happening.
we're getting real. You see what I'm saying? The hell? Look at the date. What's the date say on it?
Today.
So why am I bringing this up? It has everything to do with what we're talking about. So every time I be telling folks, long before the modern folks started talking about the United States of Israel, I was calling the United States. Why? The reason why I keep bringing them up together all the time is because Israel is the United States and the United States is Israel. The reason why the United States, your lawmakers, your U.S. lawmakers, are making anti-Semitic laws related to them folks, and the reason why we have been giving them billions of dollars in welfare almost the entirety of their existence, Brother Richard, is because we are them and they're us. When I say we, I mean them that's running our political thing. What does it say? And I want your 2 cents. Listen, Brother Richard. An audience. In one of the latest examples of political extremes converging over Israel, Representatives Ro Khanna, y'all know him, and Thomas Massie joined forces this week to challenge a provision. Y'all ready? Expanding U.S.-Israel Defense Corporation. Khanna, a progressive California Democrat, and Massie, a Kentucky Republican, both said over the weekend that they would seek to remove a provision from the House's annual defense bill. How many of y'all saw my coverage on the annual defense bill? Brother Richard, we just passed Trump another 1.8 approximate, is it trillion? No, it was almost $1 trillion. Trump done snuck in recent months to do another additional amount for the State Department. I did previous broadcasts, Brother Richard, because guess what? Guess what, Brother Richard? For 8 years straight, I believe it was, our Pentagon hasn't passed the audit, Brother Richard. And guess how much money is unaccounted for in the United States, Brother Richard? You ain't ready for this. That's why I have to always give receipts, because when people go, they're like, I can't believe Vicki in the receipts, because y'all don't be believing the most ancient woman. I'm going to keep calling myself ancient because you play too much. Guess how much is missing, Brother Richard? Unaccounted for. Trillions with a T. Did you hear what I said, Brother Richard? How is it,
Vicki, this is that's a hell of a hustle. That's a hell of a hustle.
Say it again. Brother Richard, say it again.
That's a hell of a hustle. Trillions. And you know the first thing that popped into my head, Vicki? I guess I've got to choose my language a bit carefully here. But there was a particular incident which there was a horrifying incident which took place in America in 2001, right? And I
Yes.
remember that during 9/11, I believe it was building 7. It was one of the government buildings was destroyed, and a few trillion went missing then. So it almost seems like the hustle continues, because in 2001, like before
Yeah.
9/11, it was announced there was a black hole in the government's finances. You remember, Vicky?
That's what I'm calling myself representing.
Lo and behold,
Come
who
on
would have
now.
thought it? Who would have thought it? The box cutting guys that couldn't fly a Cessna
Come
pulled
on.
off 9/11, and the building which had all the documentation pertaining to the missing billions and trillions, it evaporated. And what do you know? There's some more money on the way. I mean, if this isn't the greatest like heist
Brother
operated
Richard,
in plain sight,
Brother Richard.
I mean, what more do people? I'm surprised at times people aren't in the UK with pitchforks outside number 10. And I'm surprised in America people aren't rallying outside the White House. But it's because we've been so pacified and conditioned to accept this stuff as normalized. Again, man, you hear somebody black carries out some kind of crime, and it's blackness is the
I
central
want you to
thing.
see this. This is a recent one. Center for American Progress. This is what day?
Yeah.
Yesterday, right? What does it say?
So 1.5 billion, basically.
Yes, but
Like,
what? This is recent budget. It says won't make the country safer. What is this about? To protect national security, the United States needs a strategic and disciplined approach to defense spending, not the Trump administration's 1.5 trillion, the budget, trillion, recent, 1 trillion, 1.5 trillion. I want y'all to just letting you know, which falls to national resource strategies neatly inviting waste and increasing deficit in the latest budget request. That's why I'm trying to show you this. I'm talking about this is the latest what? Budget request. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to see. There's still trillions missing, and we haven't passed one in 8 years. Recent years, right? I'm saying what they doing. I'm trying to tell people that the United States of America, and I've said this about Israel before, Brother Richard, you probably remember this. I think that broadcast never came out, remember? When you interviewed me, and I was saying that I see Israel as a laundering country, not company, but as a laundering country. And I was talking about why I believe, but they never, that's another reason I feel that they don't want the complication of a constitution, official constitution, for other reasons. Watch this. Why am I bringing this up? Back to the other article, because I got off on that. Back to this article. Let's go back to the Times of Israel, right? This is from what? Today, right? Because the past few days, it's outlets like mine and people that are in alternative media that's been telling the public that these tricks want our militaries to merge in even more open ways. Isn't that crazy? Listen. In one of the latest examples of political extreme converging over Israel, those two that I mentioned, Rokana, Thomas Massey, one a Republican, one a Democrat, progressive, right? What is it? They're seeking to remove the provision from the House's annual defense bill that would expand U.S. and Israeli Defense Technology Corporation. Watch this. Quote, if the provision in the NDAA to integrate / synchronize, y'all listening? To integrate and synchronize the U.S. and Israeli militaries, Section 224, makes it out of committee. I'll offer an amendment to strip it from the bill on the floor. Massey, who lost his bid for re-election last month against President Donald Trump's endorsed primary opponent, wrote in a post on X. He said, we're a sovereign country. The section of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2027 that Kama and Massey have taken aim at will require the Secretary of Defense to what? Designate and, quote, executive agent responsible for synchronizing cooperative efforts between the United States and Israel, including bilateral defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation. Brother Richard. The cross-ideological alliance marked the latest instance of the progressive Democrat and Libertarian Republican finding common cause on Israel-related foreign policy after the pair previously teamed up to oppose the U.S. involvement in Israel's war in Iran last year. But that's not the only thing, y'all. They're not telling us that before this recent thing that they're trying to stop. You all do know that we are said to be paying health benefits and stuff like that to Israelis, folks fighting with the IDF. You know that in America. That's the other little secret thing that they're not telling us, that we sit up here likely paying for Israeli soldiers for Israel. and keeping that hush hush, giving them military benefits. This is some bull S. And so I wanted to bring that up. And I'm bringing this up in the larger scheme of things, Brother Richard, when we talk about Israel and people keep talking about that foreign country and why we keep doing for them what we don't do it for. Remember, we cover for them in the UN. We've been giving them welfare since almost their entire existence. They get anti-Semitic laws in the United States that Black Americans who built the country don't get. They get all these benefits and goodies all over the place, and people keep saying foreign country, and no other country get to do what they do in Russia, China, South Africa, Ethiopia. Nobody's gonna be able to do what they do, but Israel. And I'm making the point that this open integration of our militaries, which they've been doing, but to make it more public so they can easily do their crimes, because they can't do crimes as good anymore because of folks like us. See, the alternative media is making how they used to work covertly way more difficult. So now they're trying to do it in public, but they're using official legalese, and they're using committees, and they're using language and sneaky things to do it out in public and to cover for that. What are your thoughts on what I just said? Even though I know I just popped this up on you.
Gosh, I mean, if it doesn't terrify anyone who's really just even looking at this, like, basically, I don't know what to tell you, because what the Israeli army is doing around the world, they're literally saying it's going to be visited to your shores soon too. But I mean, the reality is, Trump and all those people campaigned on America first. The reality is it's Israel first, and some Americans possibly second. Because when I hear about health benefits for the genocidal race soldiers, apartheid warriors, the Israeli occupation forces, health benefits for them, there's Americans that can't afford healthcare, life-saving healthcare. There, you have support for Israeli army. What about your own veterans? Your own veterans, like in LA and elsewhere, all in the streets.
Yes.
This is it just shows you how morally bankrupt and how corrupt our systems have really become. And also the fact that both the Democrats and the Republicans united on this issue, it again really tells you that, you know, that there might be occasional differences in policy, occasional differences in rhetoric, but when the chips down, you know, when reality hits, they move on code to support Israel.
Come on.
Excuse me. And I think the other elephant in the room, and I wonder about this. A lot of people say, well, Trump never really wanted to go to war with Iran, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think if you see the statements from him in the 70s and 80s, he was actually quite articulate in talking about the fact America should go get the oil. But really and truly, these people are all operating on the very same plateau. Republicans, Democrats, they all move on code when it comes to Israel. And what's Israel? It's colonial settlerism. This is whiteness. This is how white supremacy is moving on code. And actually, that should terrify ordinary Americans. Because really and truly, like, why does the American and Israeli army need to amalgamate? Really about national security? Like, really? Like, what's the number one issue of national security officially in America? What is it? I know what I think it should be: domestic, homegrown white supremacy.
White supremacy.
So what are they telling us? These soldiers that amalgamate, they're going to come and fight the white supremacist militias in America? No, they are the white supremacist militia. I think that the number one threat to America's security, in my humble opinion, is Israel dragging the US into a war which is not only unwinnable, if, you know, America seems to have piped down a bit. By America, I mean the government and Trump.
Yes, sir.
If they're foolhardy enough to embark on an unwinnable catastrophe war, the consequences will be felt around the world. But yeah, again, what strikes me is the fact that Democrats and Republicans support this treachery. They support the sovereignty of America being compromised. What kind of a patriot does that? What kind of a true patriot puts another country first? Not least. Now, it's not like you see, if Israel was doing wonderful things around the world and saving kittens and puppies and feeding the poor, that would be one thing. They're carrying out a fucking genocide in plain view. But yeah, rather than look after your veterans and your healthcare, you want to go and look after Israeli soldiers.
Yes.
Like, Trump is, that's why I mentioned Trump. A lot of people say it's purely the dirt that Israel have on him that is making him move in this manner. I'm not really sure. I think he wants an off-ramp now. But regardless of Trump, he'll be gone tomorrow. Somebody else will be in his place. I mean, if the Republicans and Democrats combine and agree on this treachery, it doesn't even matter who the hell's in the Oval Office.
That's right. That's
what
right.
matters is that the power surrounding power, you know, and
say that again. The power
to that extent,
power.
the power that surrounds power. To that extent, if Trump was his own man, he's definitely not his own man now. He's Netanyahu's man. He'll do what Netanyahu tells him.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry,
that is so good. We'll get ready to end it here, family. Be sure to go to my website, get all the stuff. Richard, I want you to tell everybody how they can reach you, how they can support your work. But I think this is so important, family, because, Brother Richard, I believe that the powers that shouldn't be, the Netanyahus that's involved in a criminal case as we speak, the Trump that was involved in criminal activity locally as we speak, I believe that these are individuals that are controlling, that have the power to manipulate and control entire nations, even though they don't look out for the well-being of the masses of people, but they're using their nation, America, Israel, as cover to do their dirt. But I also believe that these international forces, including those throughout Europe, those in so many other countries, but I specifically am talking about the West and those that are part of the so-called global North. I believe that they know that their time is getting pretty close to being up in controlling the actual institutions by which they control the masses. So they're trying to rig the system and bleed out the system to make it as ineffective as possible. So when they're not in those high places, they can live however the hell they want to and make any basically territory around the world their own. I don't know if you've been hearing about what they're doing in Albania. Have you heard about that? Where in Albania, some of the citizens there, I believe it's Albania, because based on some of the stuff that I was not only watching, but I did a private webinar on the fact that there was a proposal, I believe, somewhere over there to have, so the Muslims can basically have their own type of Vatican for a moment. And I knew that might be problematic for the powers that shouldn't be. So lo and behold, they're sitting there talking about the fact that Israel and Israel-backed money and stuff has something to do with them trying to take a whole lot of land, and they had it blocked off. And now they said some of the citizens got the leader's house on fire, and they're doing all kind of stuff because I feel like that they're looking for other countries and nations. I'm not going to talk about some of the other African countries that they talking about doing stuff in. I don't know if you saw about Kenya, because I can't stand Ruto and a lot of stuff how he's selling out Kenya, but they're saying like he's allowing the American quarantine stuff over there in Kenya and stuff, and all these little shady things that's going on. I believe that they're looking for places to run and hide, territory, countries, and lands, because they know that they're screwed over most of the world, and they're going to need their own little islands, their own little places, and they're essentially going to make their own headquarters wherever it is they be, while they have an outsized control of the world, by and through, in part, in my opinion, AI, the banking systems, digital currency. I believe that's one of the major reasons that they are looking to control the Amazons and those places, because all of those things are international in scope. And so if you're controlling the shipping that happens in a lot of the world, if you're controlling the digital currency, if you're controlling AI and all these kinds of things, then that means that they can still control the world regardless of who the leader is in America. They don't give a damn if America is on fire. They don't care about Israel, essentially, or they see the writing on the wall with Israel. So I feel that they still trying to buy time while they get their little wicked infrastructure in place wherever it is that they're trying to set up, you understand, so that they can, live in peace wherever they choose to be. I believe that has a whole lot to do with why they're doing a lot of the stuff around the world. And I know I just threw that out there, but I'm just interested in what your thoughts are about that. And this is why I'm saying that I do mystical teaching, spiritual teaching on the original Vatican. This is the reason why I cannot not talk about that regarding any issue, because the ancients, the way the ancient world used to work, Brother Richard, under many names, literally thousands of names, but what was essential to every nation and people, guess who? The Black woman. She served as a conduit. There were emperors that were men. There were pharaohs. Of course, we know that. There were even high-ranking priests and others that were males. But the women, the matriarch, helped to keep the planet on balance. That's the reason why you could not, even the male, they couldn't be a king. There were certain royal positions that they couldn't be without the matriarch approving it and saying so. And that's the reason why so many of the lineages comes matrilineally, number one. Also, the Vatican, the original Vatican was that of the ancient Black woman. When I say Vatican, it's not just Catholicism. Islam, the Vedas, meaning a lot of the stuff that's happening with the Buddha, with the Buddhist religions, Hinduism. A lot of folks don't know they have ancient Black origins in every major spiritual system. Why is that important? This is the reason why they overthrew her and wanted to blot out her name under the entire heavens. Why? Because when world rulers, heads of state, military leaders, do you know that they consulted as a custom with her? Why? Her insight kept the planet on balance, Brother Richard. Do you know that when there was an outbreak, like a pandemic type stuff, I'm using the word pandemic, I'm not saying that was a technical word, but when there was an outbreak, even when there were strange things that happened in the sky, when there was devastation with the crops, right? They would go to these women and they would basically tap in spiritually to do ancestral rites and rituals, purifications for the land. These are things that kept the planet on balance. And this is the reason why they drove out your mamas and gave us the damn Epsteins and the Rothschilds and these wicked ass bloodlines. So if we're not spiritually aligned, the world is going to continue to be effed up. And so that's the reason why we found the origins of the Black woman, even in Islam. I ain't gonna go there. Even in Christianity, I'm gonna leave that alone. Even with the Hebrews, those that claim to be Hebrews, which they claim to be separate from the Jews. Even again, with even a lot of the Indian religions, the major spiritual systems all had their origins in her. And she was not just a spiritualist. She kept the political landscape. Do you know that when the planet reached its height, Brother Richard, in astronomy, astrology, mathematics, science, spirituality, social sophistication, and everything else, it was under her guidance. When the world was entering multiple golden ages, it was because of her energy. I'm saying restoring the goddess is not about a gender war, and only a devil would say that. It is bringing the planet and that unique energy that's divinely connected back into order. And this is the reason why they don't want us. Somebody said, Vicki, you digging real deep now, but of course. But this is the reason why, Brother Richard, they don't want that spiritual element back, because it has everything to do, believe it or not, even with the suffering of some of the Palestinians. Because that place that they call Israel and that place they call Palestine, y'all ready for this? Even some of the different waterways and trade routes in the so-called Americas and even in the so-called Middle East, our ancient Black mamas had everything to do with that. And they were overthrown from those positions, and they were under many different names, many different tribes. And I am saying this is the reason why it is the key to global peace and the new world that is to come. And I won't back down from that. I'm gonna say one more thing. Why do you think that the number one quote unquote terrorist group was called ISIS? Guess who made that point before she passed? Y'all ready? The great Dr. Francis
Chris Wilson.
And what was her main book? One of the only big books that she ever did, which was a collection of other essays. What was the name of her book? The ISIS Papers, the Keys to the Colors. And that's something that people don't know about her. And she made this point. I think it may have been in a lecture or something, but she didn't go as in detail as I go into as a spiritualist. But just that little hint, because a lot of folks don't know that ISIS and that whole notion of her and Aset, even one of the more ancient names, was actually Black goddess before any of these white images that we see today. There's a reason she talks about the one that has the keys to the colors, baby. Don't you ever get it twisted. And so if we don't restore that, we're going to continue to talk about all these secondary and tertiary and other ancillary issues, but we're not getting to the root of the problem with the planet. And because ninjas think they're smarter than your mama, you got yourself effed up. You got to be out of your mind. And I have to say that to the world, because when I'm listening to generals, when I'm listening to all the real experts that talks on national and international issues, guess who's missing? I ain't going to say nobody but me. And that's why you're damned. And that's the reason why the world throughout calls the number one terrorist organization, the most feared and the most recognized. We got a whole bunch of other names now too, don't we? But the ones that's most notable is who? ISIS, and it's not for no reason. And as a psychiatrist, meaning she's a physician, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing specifically said that about ISIS and them naming the terrorist organization that. Y'all better stop being stupid. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Connect with me in my school at VickiPlanet.com. That's my website. Brother Richard, tell everybody how they can reach you. Please, please, please. We'll end it after you.
But that's deep, by the way, Vicky. That's need to pick up that one down the line. But yeah, just you know, these people take no days off. So we have to make this our life's work. You know what I mean? They don't take any breaks. I'm easy to find. I'm on X, social media, Richard Sudan, Sudan. That's my name, like the African country. If you want to support me, support mine and Vicky's endeavor. World Black News. Support our project because it's still very much in the embryonic stages. It's going to build, it's going to develop, it's going to get sharper, it's going to become more regular, going to bring guests in. It's going to be, and I'm not just saying this because it's really going to be a one-of-a-kind, wholly unique podcast that there hasn't been anything like it yet, because Vicky and I are bringing our unique, I guess, delivery, perspectives, but we're also bringing a plethora of knowledge about different topics around the world affecting the global Black diaspora. But then we've also got, I kind of cut my teeth as a street activist back in the day, and my background's in music and being out there, and Vicky's coming from her kind of almost motherly spiritual essence. I'm telling you all that this is going to be a very unique project. We'll bring in unique guests too. So you want to support me, please support this project, and please support Vicki Dillard. There's a reason why I do my utmost to give Vicki so much respect, because Vicki is a unique voice. It's not just the analysis. Vicki is a unique voice coming from a particular perspective with the knowledge. So you know what, I'm probably preaching to the converted. Everyone watching this probably loves Vicki already. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Vicki. Like, spread the love. Support Vicki, support me, support our podcast. Much love, and thank you all for listening. I appreciate every single one of you for watching.
Amazing. Thank you, Brother Richard. I can't wait to see you again in the family. I'll see you soon, family. Yes. Oh, I'm going to end it with this. Y'all see this comment? Yay! They say, yes, the World Black News. You got it.
Yes, watch this space. Watch this space.
Love y'all. Talk to you soon. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you. Amazing.